Chapter 905. At the foot of God Burial Mountain, the onlooking cultivators had heavy hearts. They were all looking into the distance. That blurry figure was becoming more and more shocking. It was hard to imagine that this was a young cultivator. He had crossed the horizon and torn the void apart with just his physical strength. How strong must his physical body be to have such destructive power? Before this person appeared here, the surging blood chi in his body had already made them feel suffocated and tremble. They all felt that their bodies were about to collapse. Who is it? His physical body is too terrifying. The blood essence in his body covers the sky. This is a young heavenly god. They all turned pale. This young expert was quite heaven-defying. The blood essence in his body was vast and golden. He was like a young king who could push thousands of torrents. His figure emitted a kind of aura that could suppress the universe. The sagely battle god had the indestructible body. This was a supreme physique. Such a supreme physique dominated his peers. It was known as an indestructible physique. Now that the sagely battle god had stepped into the heavenly god realm, his indestructible body had reached an extremely heaven-defying level. After a slight recovery, the blood essence in the sagely battle god's body soared into the sky and pierced through the vast starry sky. Just this scene alone was enough to shock people. It was as if a divine king had come and looked down on the world. What a sagely battle god! On this day, the energy projected by the spacetime mirror radiated near God Burial Mountain. Zhu Yuanqing and the others saw that figure through the spacetime mirror. He already had the demeanor of a peerless expert and could easily erupt with destructive power. After all, he was a famous peerless prodigy in the Chaos Ruins. Now that he had stepped into the heavenly god realm, he had become a hot top expert in the universe. I wonder why the sagely battle god is going to God Burial Mountain? Some people's gazes shifted to the Dao Palace's old antiques, guessing whether it was related to the Dao Palace. After all, God Burial Mountain was a matter of great importance. Even the Dao Palace had been alarmed. After all, this concerned a place of no return. And Su Yan had the hope of breaking through that place of no return. This was a major matter that even the mighty figures paid attention to. King Flash is not far from death. I wonder if the Divine Firmament sect will save King Flash? It's hard to say. Madman Su asked for 50,000 kilograms of chaos treasures. Is the Divine Firmament sect really willing to pay such a huge price? Some of the old experts of the various races were discussing in low voices. Some felt that the possibility of the Divine Firmament sect taking action was very high. After all, King Flash was different from Han Wenxian. The Han family had lost Han Wenxian. There was a second Han Wenxian. However, once King Flash died, the Divine Firmament sect would lose their star domain Paragon. This would be a disastrous outcome for their race. The Divine Firmament sect wanted to nurture a mighty figure, not the Divine King. When the sect's paragons reached a certain level in the future, they would definitely be able to obtain the Divine Firmament star field's help. The possibility of them transforming into mighty figures was very high. King Flash was still gasping for breath, but he had already been tortured beyond recognition. His body had shrunk, and he was as thin as a mummy. His life essence was about to be completely dried up, and his flame of life was about to be extinguished. This was the sign of death. The strongest elite of the peak races was about to die in such a miserable state on God Burial Mountain. This caused a huge uproar. The era of hegemony in the Chaos Ruins had already arrived. However, a leading expert of the peak races had already been killed. This caused them to be extremely shocked. However, Su Yan was now completely unharmed. Furthermore, he was standing very close to the peak of God Burial Mountain. This caused the old experts of the various races to discuss spiritedly. Could it be that Su Yan could really climb to the peak of God Burial Mountain and obtain the great fortuitous opportunity in the land of death? In the ancestral hall, the experts of the various races were extremely gloomy. This was completely different from what they had expected. Not only had Su Yen survived, but he was also very close to the land of creation. This caused them to panic. If Su Yen really obtained a heaven-defying fortuitous opportunity, could it be that he could still improve? Su Yen is standing up again. Is he preparing to continue? Many people could no longer sit still. Impossible! A divine king of the ancestral hall roared. He was furious in his heart. God Burial Mountain is a land of death. Su Yen can't reach the peak. It's a pity that we don't know the special method to restrain God Burial Mountain. Otherwise, Zhu Tian would have come long ago. Su Yen wouldn't even have a chance to obtain this fortuitous opportunity. Everyone wanted to know how Su Yen was able to restrain God Burial Mountain. Once they figured out this secret, wouldn't the fortuitous opportunity on God Burial Mountain be easily obtained? Su Yen probably didn't expect that when he stood up to stretch his body, the old monsters of the various peak races would be unable to sit still. They stared at him with wide eyes. After all, this was a land of death. It was no small matter. Still not coming? The Divine Firmament sect is preparing to give up on King Flash. Su Yen shook his head in disappointment. The Divine Firmament sect could really sit still and watch King Flash walk towards death. This made him feel extremely helpless. He was still hoping that the Divine Firmament sect would come and rescue him. It's the Sagely Battle God. Is he here to climb the mountain? A commotion broke out at the foot of God Burial Mountain. No one had expected that the person who had come would actually be him. Even the Sagely Battle God had broken through to the Heavenly God stage, a peak talent of a generation who had stepped into the Heavenly God stage. Normally, this kind of person's status and identity were almost on the same level as the Divine King. After all, to them, becoming a Divine King was not that difficult. And once they broke through, there was a high chance that they would become a peak existence in the Divine King's domain. The Sagely Battle God had already arrived near God Burial Mountain. His aura was so powerful that it could shake the entire star sea. His majestic body also emitted an indestructible golden light, faintly suppressing the vast sky, making it dim. At that moment, the Sagely Battle God looked extremely majestic. His aura was unsurpassable. He stood between heaven and earth, filled with the peerless aura of an expert, looking down on the world. The surroundings were silent. No one knew what the Sagely Battle God was doing here. This was God Burial Mountain. Apart from Lunatic Su, who else could stand on God Burial Mountain? Even if he, the Sagely Battle God, became a Divine King, it was almost impossible. Su Yen. The Sagely Battle God's voice was loud and clear. He spat out golden ripples from his mouth. The rumbling sound was rapidly amplified, reverberating between heaven and earth. It was deafening, containing a great heavenly might and an extremely heavy aura. This sound wave was directly transmitted to God Burial Mountain, especially to King Flash, who was lying halfway up the mountain. Even the despairing King Flash, who was lying in purgatory, woke up. His hand trembled. His hand, which was about to turn into bones, moved slightly. He reached towards the Sagely Battle God at the foot of the mountain and said in a hoarse voice that only he could hear, "Brother Sagely Battle God, save me." King Flash was still alive. His life force was indeed tenacious. His eyes emitted the desire to live. After experiencing 9 days and 9 nights of torture, it was enough to leave King Flash with an unforgettable memory. It was really good to be alive. Xing Tian Battle God shouted. His voice was also transmitted to Su Yen, who was standing on top of God Burial Mountain. Originally, Su Yen wanted to move around and adjust his state. He wanted to use the Essence Spirit Treasure Liquid he obtained from Han Zhongming to strengthen his soul qi and transform his essence spirit. Su Yen did not expect someone to come. He did not expect such a powerful voice to be transmitted to him. Su Yen cast a sidelong glance at the man who was standing at the foot of the mountain. He frowned and pondered. Heavenly God, he murmured. From the sagely battle god's aura, he felt a kind of aura that could pierce through the heavens and even suppress the stars. This sagely battle god was like a part of the heavens. He suppressed all living beings and made them tremble. They really wanted to worship him. This was a heavenly god. One day, when Su Yen was strong enough, he could suppress the great Tao of the universe. This was a heavenly god. He was extremely powerful and could easily control the great Tao of the universe to attack his enemies. From man to heaven. This was a shocking evolution. Actually, cultivating to the heavenly god realm was already quite impressive. No matter which faction you were in, you would not be a small figure. One as the Tao. Everything I cultivate comes from the root. From the chaos to the chaos. Su Yen saw the sagely battle god's aura and was enlightened. Why did he have to borrow the power of the outer Tao? Why couldn't he use the inner Tao that Su Yen cultivated to create the source of chaos to break through to the heavenly god realm? But Su Yen knew that it would be difficult. Otherwise, this cultivation method would have been passed down. This might be a prehistoric cultivation method. For the current time and space, this kind of ancient cultivation method was not suitable for the current universe. Then what would happen if he really cultivated it? Back then, Su Yen had attained his Tao on Big Dipper. He had been attacked by thousands of tribulations. His life had been hanging by a thread. He had almost died. Then, the path he was going to take now was an ancient cultivation method from prehistoric times. If he really cultivated it, would it lead to a series of unnecessary tribulations? What a headache! Su Yen smiled bitterly. Actually, he had mastered the chaotic source Qi. Even if he merged with the universe's Tao, he would still become one of the strongest people of his generation. This path of breakthrough was relatively safe, and his cultivation would be smooth sailing. But he recalled Fairy Zixa's words. No matter how strong one was in the current universe, it was impossible to be on par with the ancients, let alone surpass them. If he really wanted to take a path that was on par with the ancients, it would be extremely difficult. There might be some dangerous variables that could threaten his life. Su Yen still did not dare to forget the Big Dipper's boundless tribulations. He was a little confused, but for some reason, he suddenly thought of the phrase, "Fight for the Heavenly Emperor." He even thought of the majestic Tao that caused the collapse of time and the diversion of the river of time and space. His blood was boiling. A man should be like this. The scenery on this path would definitely be very beautiful. Let's try it. If I can use my primordial spirit to dig out the treasures in my body and open the hidden treasures, then I can really try this path. Using my body to reach the divine realm. This is an ancient cultivation method. As long as I succeed, I will definitely be able to obtain more power. Su Yen had made up his mind. Right now, he only wanted to go to the peak of God Burial Mountain to take a look. Perhaps he would be able to see what had happened at God Burial Mountain during a certain era in history. Perhaps he might even find some clues related to the Heavenly Emperor. Su Yen, the sagely battle god, put his hands behind his back. His aura was like a mountain, and his aura was like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. The entire world was filled with surging golden ripples. The surging and resplendent blood essence radiance illuminated the gloomy world. The sagely battle god was showing his power. He waved at Su Yen and said calmly, "Come down and talk. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor Mobile Version Website. Chapter 906. The sagely battle god's calm voice made the surrounding people feel a headache coming on. Asking Su Yen to come down to talk? Didn't he know how difficult it was to cross the God Burial Mountain? Now, the sagely battle god had asked Su Yen to come down to talk. Who did he think he was? The Hall Master of the Tao Temple? And a powerful almighty at that. He had actually waved at Su Yen and asked him to come down to talk. This was too much. They admitted that the sagely battle god was strong enough. He was also a peerless genius of the Tao Temple and had even entered the Heaven God realm. They were not surprised that he had called for some elite. After all, the sagely battle god was qualified. But who was Su Yan? He was the one who had killed his way through the world. What kind of calamity had he not experienced? What kind of bloodshed had he not encountered? He had killed his way out of the 10 chaos channels and even stood on the god burial mountain. It seemed like he had obtained a great fortune. How could such a person be ordinary? Even a normal divine king was not as important as him. But now, the sagely battle god had come and seemed to have a favor to ask of Su Yan. However, his tone made the onlookers speechless. They felt that the sagely battle god was looking for trouble. This is a good idea. Su Yan made a decision. He looked at the figure standing at the foot of the mountain and waved at him. Come up and talk. Su Yan's actions did not surprise the onlookers. However, asking the sagely battle god to go up was like asking him to die. The sagely battle god, Ingjie, was at the peak of his generation. His indestructible body shone brightly and his blood essence surged, causing the mountains and rivers to rumble. His aura was very strong. However, facing Su Yan's attitude, the sagely battle god raised his eyebrows. His face was filled with anger. His aura became even stronger. His body was dazzling like a burning furnace. That blazing source of energy covered God Burial Mountain. Su Yan, I'm here on orders. He looked cold and shouted, Come down. I have something to tell you. It will be beneficial for you. You should take this opportunity. Who do you think you are? Su Yan's eyes flashed with 2 bolts of lightning. He pointed at the sagely battle god and said, You still have things to tell me? Who do you think you are? Isn't it just a little indestructible body? You think you're some big shot. Everyone was in an uproar. They never thought that Su Yan's words would be so overbearing. A mere indestructible body? Could it be that the immortal body was not strong enough? He, the sagely battle god, had already reached the heavenly god realm. His cultivation level was much higher than Su Yan's. Moreover, He Shengtian was a peerless genius of the Tao Hall. He had a lot of weight. Wasn't Su Yan's tone a little too arrogant? However, some people were already used to it. King Flash's background was even greater. But if he continued to struggle on God Burial Mountain, he would soon lose his life. How dare you! The sagely battle god was enraged. His entire body was filled with boundless indestructible golden light. It was so bright that even the universe was dazzling. At this moment, it was as if the world was tumbling along with his power. A character like the sagely battle god had stepped into the heavenly god realm. His battle prowess had truly exceeded everyone's expectations. The heavens and earth trembled violently as a terrifying aura filled the air. It was as if the heavens were collapsing, suppressing everything within 100,000 miles. What a powerful sagely battle god! There were also heavenly gods here. However, they were trembling from the bottom of their hearts. It was as if they were facing a giant. Their breathing was heavy and their souls were filled with terrifying pressure. It was as if they were facing the divine king. One had to admit that the sagely battle god had the right to be arrogant. He was like a god who controlled the sky. He looked down on everything and his power shook the heavens. Su Yan, how dare you talk to me like this? The sagely battle god shouted angrily. I'm here on the orders of the Tao Hall. If you know what's good for you, come down immediately. What a joke. What right does the Tao Hall have to order me around? Su Yan couldn't help but laugh. If you have anything to say, then say it. Don't disturb my cultivation. If you have the guts, then come up and speak. If not, then get lost. I don't have time to deal with you now. Su Yan, you're too arrogant. The sagely battle god's aura shot up into the sky. His blood essence surged out like an ocean. The impact caused the universe to shake. Suddenly, countless stars trembled and looked like they were going to fall down. However, the sagely battle god didn't dare to take a step forward. Before he came, the Tao Hall's strong cultivators had warned him not to go up the mountain. Otherwise, there would be a disaster. The sagely battle god felt very wrong. He shouted, "This concerns a universal secret realm. Don't regret it." What? The surrounding people were shocked. Was the Tao Hall here to invite Su Yan to join them and even promise him the right to enter the universal secret realm? Everyone knew that the Tao Hall controlled many universal secret realms. They would usually select outstanding disciples to enter the universal secret realms to find opportunities. Even the Supremes would be tempted by such opportunities. However, they felt that with Su Yan's prestige, it wouldn't be difficult for him to obtain these. If the Tao Hall wanted to rope Su Yan in, they would have to pay a certain amount of resources. Speak clearly. Don't beat around the bush. Su Yan asked with interest. He was also very curious about the universal secret realms. The sagely battle god suppressed the flames in his heart and said coldly, "Su Yan, you're also a character. However, it's obvious that you won't be able to climb to the top of the God Burial Mountain. Why don't we make a deal of equal value?" "What do you mean?" Su Yan's eyes flashed with a cold light. Was the Tao Hall trying to get their hands on the God Burial Mountain? If others had the ability to climb the mountain, he wouldn't care. However, if they had designs on him, then he would be embarrassed. "I have the immortal body." The sagely battle god placed his hands behind his back and said proudly, "My physical body is the strongest in my generation. I'm afraid that the God Burial Mountain is a test of my physical body. With the strength of my physical body, it won't be difficult for me to reach the top. If you're willing to hand over the secret of climbing the mountain," the sagely battle god said slowly, "it'll be a great contribution to the Tao Hall. Not only can you become a disciple of the Tao Hall, but you can also obtain the right to enter the universal secret realm. This is a rare opportunity." The sagely battle god smiled and waved at Su Yan. "Su Yan, you haven't entered the heavens god realm yet. When the time comes, cultivate well in the universal secret realm. There's hope for you to become an heavens god." The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect the sagely battle god to really be here on orders. After all, he couldn't personally promise the right to enter the universal secret realm. This was something that the Tao Hall's big shots had agreed to. However, given the importance of the God Burial Mountain, it was enough for the Tao Hall to pay attention to. Since Su Yan knew the secret to climbing the mountain, as long as they could convince Su Yan, everything would be fine. When he noticed Su Yan's hesitation, the sagely battle god frowned and said impatiently, not satisfied, "Su Yan, this price is enough. Do you know what it means to be a disciple of the Tao Hall?" Su Yan sneered. He really didn't care. What could the Tao Hall give him? He didn't believe that a power could nurture him unconditionally. There were no saints in this world. At that moment, 5 young Divine Firmament sect elites walked over from afar. They were all King Flash's generals. Each of them was very powerful and had a strong aura. Actually, they had been here for a long time. However, they didn't dare to go near the God Burial Mountain or provoke Su Yan. They weren't the only ones. 3 of the Divine Firmament sect's elders had also come. The Divine Firmament sect would not give up on King Flash so easily. If they could save him, they would definitely save him. Although King Flash had suffered a terrible defeat, he was still the Divine Firmament sect's future hope. After all, the Star Domain origin mark would not be recognized in a short time. However, if King Flash died, the Divine Firmament Star region would lose the resources that they were most proud of. Their status would be awkward. "Su Yan, we already know about the grudge between you and our sect. Today we are here to express our attitude." The 3 elders of the Divine Firmament sect spoke. They were very humble, and their old faces were like blooming chrysanthemums. They revealed a fake smile. "Our sect can give you a sage herb to offset our previous grudge. Let's forget about it with a smile. How about that?" Su Yen smiled. The divine firmament sect elites that he had been waiting for had finally arrived. It was obvious that the divine firmament sect had come because of the sagely battle god. The sagely battle god also laughed. That's right. Su Yen, you will soon be a disciple of the Dao Hall. King Flash and I are friends. Senior brother, you can protect him. Give me some face and send him down the mountain. When King Flash, who was halfway up the mountain, heard the sagely battle god's words, he was so excited that his body trembled. He had seen the light in his despair. He had seen the light. Indeed, his family would not give up on him. They must have persuaded the Dao Hall to come and plead for him. The God Burial Mountain was too dangerous. The divine firmament sect could not organize people to save him. Only Su Yen could send him down the mountain safely. Junior brother, hurry up and go down the mountain, the sagely battle god urged as he waved at Su Yen. He was very arrogant. At the same time, a trace of passion flashed across his eyes. How could he not be envious of the opportunities in the God Burial Mountain? Now that he was getting closer and closer to the opportunity, he would be able to see the heaven-defying opportunities in this place. As long as Su Yen could tell him the secrets of the God Burial Mountain, everything would be fine. The divine firmament sect elites were worried that Su Yen would raise the price again. However, since the sagely battle god had come, Su Yen would not reject him, right? Seeing that Su Yen was silent, the sagely battle god frowned and said, Junior brother, are you not going to give me some face? We will all be brothers in the future. There is no need to kill each other. Stop blabbering, can you shut up for me? Get lost. Su Yen was enraged by the way he kept calling him junior brother. Is this sagely battle god here to tease me? Does he really think I am a fool? F***ck. Using a mystic realm in exchange for the secrets of the God Burial Mountain. Only the sagely battle god could say that. How dare you? The sagely battle god was enraged. His entire body was filled with anger. Heaven and earth rumbled. Streaks of terrifying blood essence filled the sky. He was like an indestructible golden body, emitting an aura that could swallow the heavens. Who do you think you are? Su Yen pointed at the sagely battle god and roared, You really think too highly of yourself. Who the F***ck do you think you are? Get lost now. Su Yan's angry roar reverberated in the sky, shaking the souls of the elites. They all felt suffocated. He is asking the sagely battle god to get lost? B*****. The sagely battle god was enraged. His entire body emitted a dazzling light, like an eternal sun in the sky. His entire body rose into the sky. At that moment, the sagely battle god emitted a terrifying aura. This was the divine aura of a peerless god. Oh my god, what is the sagely battle god trying to do? Everyone was shocked. The sagely battle god seemed to be imitating Su Yen. He seemed to be imitating the way Su Yen punched King Flash in the past. He rose from the ground and rushed into the sky. He waved his fist and wanted to punch Su Yen. He is imitating Su Yen and punching King Flash. Now, he is going to punch Su Yen, who is standing at the peak of the God Burial Mountain. This is too awesome. Many people were shocked and excited. Could the sagely battle god succeed? Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor Mobile Version Website. Chapter 907. The sagely battle god is indeed a peerless genius of the Taoist temple. He is indeed a young overlord. The eyes of the big shots who were entrenched in the outside world lit up. They never thought that the sagely battle god would be so strong and domineering. He would attack without saying a word. He was even imitating Su Yan's magnificent feat of punching the Lightning King. This scene really shocked the big shots of the big races. The upper echelons of the divine firmament sect applauded. Someone laughed and said, The sagely battle god is domineering. He is a heavenly god. No matter how strong Su Yen is, he will not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. That's right. Once Su Yen is suppressed, he will be able to spit out the secret of the God Burial Mountain. Su Yen has been arrogant for too long. It is time for someone to step in and let him see the cruelty of reality. Let him shatter his invincible belief. Many people turned pale as well. This sagely battle god was truly decisive and tyrannical, directly attacking. He had long since cultivated a peerless spirit, an unrivaled attitude that could sweep through all the kings under the heavens. Thus, the important figures of various races viewed him with some respect. Looks like King Flash can be saved. Su Yen has been arrogant for so long. It is time for him to suffer. The upper echelons of the Divine Firmament sect were the most excited. Once Su Yen was suppressed, he would obediently send King Flash down the mountain. Perhaps they would not even need to pay the sage herb. Buzz. At the God Burial Mountain, divine light shone brightly. It contained a kind of power that could burn the sky and split the sea. This was the aura of the indestructible body. It was so powerful that it made the vast territory tremble. Boom! The sagely battle god rose from the ground. He was a young overlord of the heavenly god realm. The divine power in his body was so strong that it made the cultivators of the same generation suffocate. His precious body released thousands of layers of chi and blood, forcibly breaking the void tens of thousands of miles away. Oh my God! The people around were really frightened. They looked at the sagely battle god in shock. It was hard to imagine that this was a heavenly god and a young overlord who had just stepped into the heavenly god realm. He was really ridiculously strong. Alright. The 5 generals under King Flash's command were all excited. They roared in their hearts, Su Yen is nothing. The sagely battle god has already reached the divine realm. Maybe the sagely battle god can kill Su Yen along the way. By then, King Flash will definitely be able to escape unscathed. Su Yen, I'm giving you another chance. You have to cherish it. The sagely battle god placed his hands behind his back with an arrogant expression. His words were like a giant bell that shook the heaven and earth. His aura and godly prowess filled the area. Moreover, his pupils had turned golden as he looked at Su Yen with an unquestionable tone. He was a heavenly deity, so how could he talk to Su Yen, a mere deity? If it weren't for the God Burial Mountain, the sagely battle god would have already suppressed him and taught him a lesson. After all, in the eyes of the sagely battle god, the Chaos Ruins would not allow such an awesome person to appear. Su Yan's previous actions had thoroughly pissed off the sagely battle god. He wanted to teach Su Yan a lesson and let him know who the Chaos Ruins belonged to. What right did a young talent from the abandoned race have to compete for hegemony? I'm also giving you a chance. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Su Yen laughed out loud as he stood on top of the God Burial Mountain. He stood on top of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He was filled with a domineering aura. You have to pay the price for your arrogance. The sagely battle god's aura changed drastically. His treasure body shot out rays of divine light as his aura exploded. It was actually stronger than before. This also caused the heaven and earth to tremble. The sun and moon lost their light. Even the space-time was trembling. The area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was suppressed by a supreme aura. What a terrifying sagely battle god! He must have wanted to deal with Su Yen all along. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hidden his strength. I really didn't expect the sagely battle god to be this powerful. Countless cultivators exclaimed. As the sagely battle god's aura spread out, the scene of heaven and earth collapsing was like an ocean exploding. That peerless aura surged out with an invincible aura. In the heaven and earth, only the sagely battle god was shining with boundless radiance. He seemed to have reached the limit of the indestructible body's potential. This was an invincible body that was known as the Supreme Body. Dong. People saw that the sagely battle god didn't say a word. He was waving his fist. He was really imitating Su Yen in the past. He wanted to punch Su Yen on top of the god burial mountain. It's over. The sagely battle god is a heavenly god. Su Yen is still in the godly spirit realm. They're fighting at the same level, but Madman Su Yen is one level lower. This is a fatal threat. Is Su Yen going to lose his dignity today and help the sagely battle god? I'm afraid that's possible. The sagely battle god is suppressing Su Yen with his heavenly god's strength. Is there any suspense? Looks like Su Yan's invincible legend is going to be ended by the sagely battle god today. The atmosphere was heated to the extreme. The big figures outside were watching nervously. The moment this punch was thrown out, it was as if the heavens were suppressing the world. It was as if an indestructible sun had shaken open the sea of stars. That kind of powerful aura rushed to the peak of God Burial Mountain and unleashed a bloody suppression against Su Yen. Everything became blurry and dim in front of the sagely battle god's shocking fist aura. People seemed to see countless corpses on top of the God Burial Mountain being smashed into ashes. That was why this fist could destroy a place of life and destroy a forbidden area of life. When the fist was infinitely close to the God Burial Mountain, a loud noise shook the sky. Pft! The spectating cultivators all spat out blood. Even the heavenly gods were sent flying far away. The powerful cultivators from the divine firmament sect all cried out in pain. What a terrifying sagely battle god! The sagely battle god's victory belongs to him. Some people shouted excitedly. The powerful cultivators of the older generation were all trembling in fear. It was hard to imagine that the aftershock of the sagely battle god's fist aura was extremely difficult for them to bear. It was as if they were facing the divine king, a powerful cultivator. Ah! A shrill cry suddenly sounded. It was extremely ear-piercing in the midst of this divine might that made them want to kneel down and worship it. Some people's hearts sank. Was there any suspense? Could it be that Su Yen was seriously injured by a single punch, just like the Lightning King from before? No! Someone suddenly shouted with a terrified expression because this was not Su Yan's voice. Just as they were trying to figure out who was screaming, they suddenly discovered that the previously arrogant sagely battle god was screaming in pain. This scene caused everyone to fall into a daze. Not only was the sagely battle god screaming in pain, but his body was also trembling. The extremely vigorous, indestructible divine power in his body was flowing out of his body and toward the God Burial Mountain. What was the God Burial Mountain? It was a demonic mountain, a place where all the major races in history trembled in fear. The sagely battle god was so arrogant that he thought that punching Su Yen was equivalent to punching the God Burial Mountain. When his power came into contact with the God Burial Mountain, the strange power in the God Burial Mountain had already been drawn out and greedily devoured the sagely battle god's life essence. This was far more serious than climbing the mountain. It was equivalent to provoking the God Burial Mountain. This disastrous outcome befell the sagely battle god. He screamed in pain and his divine firmament divine power dissipated. It was as if he was going to be sucked dry in a short time. Many people were dumbfounded. What the F***ck is this? Such a domineering attack to punch Su Yen. But before he could even touch Su Yan's clothes, he was about to be devoured by the God Burial Mountain. Many people were dumbfounded, including the important figures in the outside world. They didn't know what to say. Some people wanted to laugh, but they couldn't. A series of flabbergasted images appeared before their eyes. Only the elders of the Taoist temple were anxious. The sagely battle god had great potential and was an indestructible body. His future was limitless. But if his foundation was destroyed by the God Burial Mountain, the Taoist temple would lose a peerless talent. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Only Su Yen was laughing loudly. He laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. If he, the sagely battle god, died because of this, he would become a laughingstock that would be passed down through the ages. Roar! The sagely battle god didn't care about anything else. He kept roaring, trying to break free from the god Burial Mountain's devouring power. But he couldn't do it. At this moment, the sagely battle god was really panicking. He kept using his power to resist the god Burial Mountain's devouring power and to seal the essence blood that was leaking out of his body. But it was very difficult for him to do so. He felt that he was about to die. The source of life in his body was starting to dry up. He was terrified of the god Burial Mountain from the bottom of his heart. He really wanted to curse. Who the F***ck asked me to come here? Why the F***ck did I come here? Did I want to die? Bastard! The sagely battle god used all his strength, but in the end, he roared in anger. Everyone was in disbelief, because the sagely battle god's body was torn apart. What was going on? Was the sagely battle god already dead? Was he even weaker than King Flash? This is... Some people gasped when they saw that the sagely battle god had turned into a golden puppet. The important figures in the outside world were shocked. This was a substitute puppet, and it was even an extremely high-level puppet. This thing could even save the divine king's life. The sagely battle god actually had such a good thing. Su Yen, I'm going to destroy your soul and tear you into pieces. The sagely battle god appeared in the nearby void again. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he was so angry that his body was trembling. This was the most precious treasure of the He family, and it was destroyed just like that. The sagely battle god was so angry that his chest heaved up and down violently. He was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. Not only was his substitute puppet destroyed, but his source of life was also damaged. He would have to rest for a few months and spend a lot of resources to recover. In short, the sagely battle god had lost a lot of money. Pitiful bug, you can't even touch the corner of my clothes, and now you're blaming me. Su Yen mocked him mercilessly. Get down here. Su Yen, I'll kill you. The sagely battle god was so angry that his eyes turned red. It was fine that he had lost a lot of money, but he had also embarrassed himself in the entire universe. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Su Yan's eyes turned cold. The immortal iron rod appeared in his hand. He stood at the peak of God Burial Mountain and waved the huge iron rod. Boom! It was as if a giant pillar had fallen from the sky and smashed towards the sagely battle god with terrifying energy. Please remember the domain name of this book. Jiutian Divine Emperor. Chapter 908. A violent wave swept over first, filling up the land in all directions. It was like a cosmic comet falling from the sky, filled with a terrifying impact. In a short period of time, the spectating cultivators felt a stabbing pain in their bodies. They all had the mentality of kneeling down. They were frightened and uneasy. They really felt that the sky was falling down, filled with a boundless force that could collapse a vast region. It was hard to imagine that this was just a huge iron staff sweeping through the sky and dragging along a storm of energy. This treasure was covered in a hazy divine light and rippled with a terrifying force. This staff broke through the void and fell from the sky. It pierced through thousands of miles and directly smashed towards the sagely battle god. Su Yen dares to attack the sagely battle god in such a domineering manner. Madman Su is indeed Madman Su. There is nothing in the world that he doesn't dare to do. However, before, the sagely battle god wanted to punch Su Yen. This was also a form of humiliation for Su Yen. Now that Su Yen has made a move, there is no need to say anything more. That's right. The sagely battle god wanted to bully Su Yen by relying on his heavenly deity Dao. In the end, he suffered a big setback. His substitute puppet was destroyed just like that. This is truly heartbreaking. The spectating experts were in an uproar. Some people looked up at the towering figure standing at the peak of Buried God Mountain. He seemed to be infinitely tall. An angry roar shook the heavens and earth. The sun and moon lost their light. The light emitted from his body also illuminated this gloomy world with resplendent light. At this moment, Su Yen was relatively powerful and domineering. He directly waved the immortal iron staff and ruthlessly smashed it towards the sagely battle god's head. Boom! The iron staff swept across the sky, carrying the might of thunder and creating a terrifying storm. It was simply like a true dragon swooping down to the lower realm. The rippling light caused many people's bodies to tremble. Their eyes turned black and they almost fainted on the ground. Just this crazy wave alone was frightening enough. The spectators found it hard to endure. It was hard to imagine just how powerful this staff was. Bastard! The sagely battle god was furious. The withered immortal body released light. He was a first-generation heavenly deity. Sky god, and Su Yen was just a god realm expert. Who gave him the guts to attack a sky god? Even if the sagely battle god was severely injured, he would not be afraid of Su Yen. Buzz! In an instant, the sagely battle god's body turned into a golden color. Immortal chi flowed around him. He seemed to have turned into a piece of golden divine metal, unshakable. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the sagely battle god swung his fist at the immortal iron rod that was descending from the sky. At this moment, many people thought that the sagely battle god had gone mad. How could he resist Su Yan's divine weapon? Was this guy made of divine metal? Some people said, the indestructible body's strength lies in its physical body. The legendary indestructible body's physical body is comparable to a supreme treasure. When it grows to a certain level, it can even fight against the sacred weapons of supreme beings. What? The indestructible body is that strong? Its physical body is comparable to divine weapons. The crowd lost their colors. Some old experts shook their heads and said, "This is nothing. Every sovereign body has its strong point. First, it needs to grow. Normally, sovereign bodies grow very quickly in the early stages, but become slower and slower in the later stages. But the sagely battle god has already stepped into the sky god realm at such a young age. His control over the indestructible body must be very strong. I think his organs are about to turn into a golden color and are as hard as divine metal." Quite a few cultivators were stupefied, gaining a new type of understanding towards supreme being bodies. In reality, the era when supreme being bodies were powerful was the era when they rose to power. Heavenly deity realm supreme being bodies were freakish and terrifying enough, their bodies made of copper tendons and iron bones, able to clash head-on with divine weapons. Boom! A thunderous sound exploded just like that. The momentum shook the sky, and the sound waves rolled out in all directions. It contained a suffocating source of energy. Everyone lost their colors. They all saw the sagely battle god's fist collide with the immortal iron rod. With just the strength of his physical body, he actually blocked the immortal iron rod's attack and didn't even move an inch. "If it wasn't for the god Burial Mountain, I would have already killed you," the sagely battle god angrily roared. His eyes were filled with a cold light. His entire body emitted a brilliant light, making him look tall and mighty. The sagely battle god was suddenly heavily injured, but he didn't fear Su Yen at all. He even had the urge to kill Su Yen. "You want to take my attack head-on? Let's see how long you can last. Take back your big words. Su Yen is native." He held the immortal iron rod with one hand and stood on top of the god Burial Mountain, attacking the sagely battle god. Did he really think that this rod only had this much power? One had to know that Su Yen was carrying the god Burial Mountain. He only attacked under the monstrous pressure, so his battle strength was limited. However, this didn't mean that Su Yen couldn't do anything to the sagely battle god. Boom! In an instant, rays of light and terrifying pressure swept across the land. It contained the source of energy that could destroy everything. At this moment, it was as if the sky had been subdued, crushed, and become his own. The moment the immortal iron rod released a sky full of true dragon shadows, the vast sky began to tremble. Boundless power gathered here and pierced through the immortal iron rod, causing this rod to become infinitely bigger. It was filled with energy that could crush everything in the universe. Mystical secret technique. Many people lost their composure. This was definitely a mystical secret technique. The immortal iron rod seemed to have turned into one of Su Yan's hands. It crossed over the god burial mountain and connected with the power of heaven and earth. It pierced through the immortal iron rod, causing its aura to explode. Bastard, what did Han Wenxian do? When the Han family's old master saw the scene in the time mirror, his face turned extremely gloomy. He could clearly see that Su Yan's control of the power of heaven had increased by another level. The power of heaven was a secret technique that belonged to the Han family. It was also the foundation of the family. Not to mention outsiders, even if someone accidentally obtained the inheritance of the power of heaven and earth, they would be secretly destroyed by the Han family. However, the Han family's old master had confirmed that Su Yan had not grasped the profound power of heaven. But now, he saw that Su Yan's Fu Tian rod array was even more powerful. This was very important. It was very likely that Han Wenxian, in order to survive, had given Su Yan a lot of the inheritance of the power of heaven. Although it was only a part of it, it was enough to benefit an array formation master for a lifetime. And to Su Yan, a master of mystical arts, it was enough to make him like a tiger that had grown wings. This made the Han family's old master almost explode in anger. They were even worried that Su Yan would step into the Tier 7 realm of mystical arts. Even if his control of the power of heaven was weak, Su Yan's control of the power of heaven was enough for Su Yan to shine in the realm of mystical arts. The iron rod shook gently, and a peerless power leaked out, causing the sagely battle god's body to tremble. He felt like he was going to explode from the force of the immortal iron rod. Roar! He let out a long roar, sensing that he was no match. The power of this immortal iron rod was equivalent to the power of an immortal god. If he met force with force, there was a high possibility that he would be severely injured. Facing the immortal iron rod, the sagely battle god instantly took out a golden cauldron. This golden cauldron was surrounded by thousands of rays of light, and there was the image of a true dragon within it. This was a rare treasure. The moment it was activated, it turned into a dragon cauldron, shaking the sky and hitting the immortal iron rod. Boom! The immortal iron rod and the golden cauldron clashed, creating all kinds of destructive ripples. It was as if two dimensions were clashing. But what made people's scalps go numb was that the immortal iron rod was getting stronger and stronger. At first, the golden cauldron was still able to withstand it, but when the immortal iron rod was about to explode, its power increased. It was as if the immortal iron rod was descending from the 9 heavens. It gathered the vast power of heaven and earth, forming the heaven-subduing rod formation, preparing for an extremely powerful attack. Gotcha! Many people were shocked. The golden cauldron started to shake uncontrollably, and cracks even appeared on its sturdy walls. This treasure could not withstand the immortal iron rod's peerless power. Su Yan was even wilder and more domineering. He continuously swung the immortal iron rod, smashing it down furiously. After 3 rounds of attacks, the cauldron exploded. The surging aura descended from the sky and slashed towards the sagely battle god. B******. The sagely battle god's eyes turned red. That was an incredible treasure, but it was destroyed by Su Yan. The sky was filled with majestic power. Su Yan had cultivated the heaven-subduing rod formation to the pinnacle level. This divine power in history was said to be undefeatable under the Divine King. The moment it was released, it could crush everything in the universe. Everyone's expression changed. The sagely battle god took out his treasures to block. However, one treasure after another was destroyed, causing them to feel extremely pained just looking at it. These things were all extremely valuable. But now, they were all destroyed by Su Yan's immortal iron rod. The entire world was filled with sky-shattering waves. When the terrifying giant pillar descended from the sky again, an extremely domineering source of energy appeared. Just the waves alone were enough to cause the sagely battle god's face to hurt. The sagely battle god coughed out blood. His treasures were all destroyed. In the end, he wore an armor to block it. But the armor was also crushed. His arms blocked the immortal iron rod, but his entire body was shaking. Do you admit defeat? Su Yen stood on top of the god burial mountain, and his cold voice swept down. Be ****. The sagely battle god roared, if I wasn't heavily injured, you wouldn't be able to block me. Then I'll beat you until you admit defeat. Su Yan's hair danced in the wind. He was extremely domineering. He swung the immortal iron rod again and hit the sagely battle god again and again. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He attacked 9 times in a domineering manner. It was as if 9 small universes were created. The 9 pillars were about to destroy this space. The boundless territory had collapsed, and the number of jet-black cracks was innumerable. Everyone was about to be crushed. They retreated in fear and left the battlefield. Everything was destroyed. Only the sagely battle god was still glowing. But after 9 consecutive hits, he was completely smashed into the ground. Do you admit defeat? Su Yen shouted coldly. He looked down at the sagely battle god. His aura was extremely strong, and it filled this destroyed world. Everyone fell to the ground. They couldn't withstand this aura. It was as if they had entered Su Yan's invincible domain. They trembled in fear. Be ****. I'll definitely kill you in the future. The sagely battle god's eyes were red. This was a great humiliation. His entire body was smashed into the ground in the process of resisting. Trash, get out of my way. Su Yen seemed to have returned from the mountain. He swung the immortal iron rod and a demon appeared in the sky. He was about to smash the sagely battle god into pieces. Dong! This staff finally began to strike down. The earth was split open, and a large fissure ran for thousands of miles. Everything collapsed and was dug up. Nothing existed anymore. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 909. Suffocating energy fluctuations filled the air, and the vast territory began to break apart. Countless corpses were blasted into ashes. In this gloomy world, the atmosphere became even more oppressive. The experts who had fled the battlefield were all terrified. This was too tyrannical and overbearing. Su Yen stood on top of God Burial Mountain and forcefully bombarded this territory until it was riddled with holes. Everything was heading towards destruction. Su Yen. Some people's voices were trembling. Who is the battle god? The most powerful expert of the younger generation. Su Yen has already become a supreme. He is really extremely powerful. How many people in the same generation can suppress his peerless aura? Yes, the sagely battle god suffered a crushing defeat. Although he was already severely injured, his reputation will definitely be tarnished. It is a pity that this elite who had just entered the heavenly god realm suffered a huge loss and had to leave. They all admired him from the bottom of their hearts. Some people even looked at the sagely battle god who had left the battlefield. He no longer had the face to stay here. If the sagely battle god wanted to leave, Su Yen would not be able to stop him, unless he went down the mountain and fought with the sagely battle god. However, the sagely battle god had endured the humiliation and left. This was too big a loss. It was completely different from how he had tried to bully Su Yen previously. Sigh. The experts from the various races who were watching the battle sighed. They could not help but smile bitterly when they saw the sagely battle god leave in a hurry. Why did he have to come here and escape in a sorry state? It was really tragic. Especially the divine firmament sex expert. They wanted to curse. Why did you act so arrogantly? In the end, you were severely injured by the god burial mountain. Otherwise, How could the sagely battle god have suffered such a crushing defeat? After all, he had already entered the heavenly god realm. How could he lose to Su Yen? In any case, the sagely battle god had lost a lot of face. Even the divine firmament sect's fantasy of taking away King Flash was mercilessly destroyed by Su Yen. Su Yen stood tall on God Burial Mountain. He was already infinitely close to the peak. His cold eyes swept across the divine firmament sect's people at the foot of the mountain. They wanted to take away King Flash with just one sage herb? Were they joking? I've changed my mind. Without 200,000 kilograms of Chaos Elixir, King Flash can stay here forever. Su Yan's cold voice resounded throughout the entire place, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. This was an exorbitant demand, but it was simply too frightening. This was equivalent to robbing the Divine Firmament sect, cutting off their flesh. Would the Divine Firmament sect agree to Su Yan's demands? Unless the Divine Firmament sect had really gone mad. Su Yan Yu. The three old experts from the Divine Firmament sect were livid. They were so angry that their bodies were trembling. Damn it, 200,000 chaos liquid? It was impossible for the Divine Firmament sect to take out 50,000 kilograms of chaos elixir, let alone 200,000. King Flash, who was lying halfway up the mountain, was in a terrible state. The little essence blood in his body was about to be completely exhausted. He let out a beast-like roar. He was so angry that he almost died. 200,000 kilograms of chaos elixir was an impossible amount. The Divine Firmament sect would not pay such a heavy price for him. Even if the Divine Firmament sect was a peak sect with deep pockets, if they wanted to take out 200,000 kilograms of chaos elixir in one go, they would need to use up more than half of their sect's resources. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Su Yen knocked the immortal iron staff, as if he was about to hit them. This made the Divine Firmament sect's experts retreat in fear. They did not dare to stay here any longer. They were worried that Su Yen would really go crazy and kill them too. After all, the gap between them and the sagely battle god was too big. At the same time, they glanced at King Flash with a hint of hesitation in their hearts. Were they really going to give up on King Flash and let him die on God Burial Mountain? Su Yan's eyes narrowed as he secretly made a move. King Flash, who was struggling on the verge of death, suddenly stood up like a zombie. His extremely weak body suddenly glowed, and a terrifying light vaguely rose from the depths of his flesh shell. It was a terrifying change. King Flash seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning that could destroy the world. He revealed a supreme divine aura that could pierce through the sky and suppress all the kings of his generation. This is? The Divine Firmament sect's experts who had retreated were all shocked. They looked at King Flash in surprise. They vaguely felt that King Flash had opened some kind of treasure. In particular, the scene shown by the space-time mirror made the Divine Firmament sect's Divine King gasp violently. He said in shock, "King Flash has improved his cultivation of heavenly lightning in a desperate situation. Is he really going to transform into heavenly lightning?" The heavenly lightning's extremely profound domain was that one could transform into heavenly lightning and control the heavenly tribulation. This was the struggle of breaking through to the heavenly god realm. It also meant that one would cultivate to an extremely terrifying level in the heavenly god realm. As long as he could take this step, then King Flash would really have a terrifying foundation and battle strength. That must be it. King Flash is going to rise in adversity. King Flash's changes were shocking. The Divine Firmament sect's upper echelons were all excited and shocked. It must be because King Flash had comprehended something in a desperate situation and had grown in adversity. We must save King Flash. His potential has been unearthed, and there's hope for him to step into the heavenly supremacy realm in the future. That's right. Any future Overlord has to experience endless bloody storms, failures, and setbacks. They have to go through countless setbacks before they can climb to the peak. Our race's King Flash will definitely be such an expert in the future. Erupting in adversity and awakening in adversity. King Flash has a chance of becoming a mighty figure in the future. King Flash's changes made the Divine Firmament sect once again place high hopes on him. His fighting spirit had not been extinguished, and he could continue to awaken stronger battle strength. This made the Divine Firmament sect look forward to it 1,000 times more. Su Yan, the Divine Firmament sect's old expert, who was far away from God Burial Mountain, turned back once again and said in an excited tone, "I think it's better if we do this. Look, our race's King Flash can't hold on for too long. Let's send a batch of chaotic treasure liquid over now and let him survive first. I'll come back in a few days. What do you think?" "Of course, I'm fair in doing business." Su Yan's words made the Divine Firmament sect's expert's face turn green. Doing business? Are you treating King Flash as a commodity? However, none of them dared to retort. They immediately tossed out a spatial treasure. Su Yan reached out and grabbed it. There was 1,000 kilograms of primal chaos treasure liquid inside. It was enough for the Lightning King to last for a few more days. When the rich and surging life essence landed on King Flash's body. The moment it landed on King Flash's withered body, his heart, which had already accepted his fate, was instantly revived. He greedily absorbed the chaotic treasure liquid's energy, thinking that he was already saved. However, when King Flash came back to his senses, he was dumbfounded. Why was he still on God Burial Mountain? King Flash had no idea what had happened before. It was Su Yan who had controlled King Flash. After all, Su Yan was proficient in all Daos. He had used the chaotic Ci to manifest lightning from the heavens, making the Divine Firmament sect's experts think that King Flash was about to awaken in adversity. One had to say that it was very laughable. Of course, the Divine Firmament sect's upper echelons did not know that Su Yan had mastered the heavenly lightning. Even if Su Yan used the heavenly lightning, the Divine Firmament sect would not think that it was their race's most powerful divine ability. "Let's go and report this to the family." The Divine Firmament sect's experts hurriedly retreated. At the same time, they set up a spatial array here so that they could rush here immediately. They were burning with anxiety. King Flash wanted to rise in adversity, so they had to save him. This matter also had to be settled with the family. The top experts of the race would only come to a conclusion after a discussion. They could not make this decision at all. "Let's wait." Su Yan sat cross-legged on God Burial Mountain and waited patiently. He was not in a hurry to devour the chaotic treasure liquid. Su Yan did not lack cultivation resources now, but he urgently needed them in the future. If he could snatch a large amount of chaotic treasure liquid from the Divine Firmament sect, he would not have to worry about future cultivation resources. Since he had nothing to do, Su Yan solemnly took out the Han family's most precious treasure. An ancient Tao diagram appeared in front of Su Yan. The Tao diagram had existed for an unknown period of time. It emitted an ancient aura and was rather well preserved. Dense and mysterious patterns were engraved on the Tao diagram. This was the painstaking work left behind by an 8th-stage Great Grandmaster. It was equivalent to him pressing his hand here, emitting a suffocating wave of energy. Although the Tao diagram's power had dissipated greatly, it still had an extremely strong power. It could easily suppress the Divine King. Even a half-step mighty would most likely turn green when they saw this Tao diagram. Su Yan's eyes scanned the various mysterious patterns engraved on the Tao diagram. During the process of observing, he was silent. It was as if he saw the heavens, the universe, and space-time appear in his mind. In an instant, Su Yan felt like his primordial spirit was about to be shattered by the Tao diagram's charm. This moved and shocked him. Su Yan's primordial spirit was about to be destroyed during the process of observing the Tao diagram. An 8th-stage Great Grandmaster is really terrifying. He has reached the pinnacle. Su Yen was amazed and then sighed. It's a pity that my primordial spirit is not strong enough to see through the mysteries within. This Tao diagram must have recorded the Heavenly Force chapter, but deciphering it is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Su Yen had never thought of deciphering it. Whether he could obtain the Heavenly Force chapter in the future would depend on luck. And this sky-subduing staff formation. Perhaps there are even more profound secrets. Could it be that the Han family has a collection of the subsequent chapters? Su Yen had already cultivated the sky-subduing staff formation to a certain extent, but he felt that this secret technique left behind in history was not limited to this. Perhaps the Han family had a collection of future chapters. I miscalculated. I should have used Han Wenxian to trade for the subsequent chapters. However, Han Wenxian's status is not as honorable as King Flash's. Su Yen thought to himself. 3 days and 3 nights had passed. He wondered how the Divine Firmament sect's discussion was going. In fact, the moment King Flash got up, the Divine Firmament sect's upper echelons had already begun their discussion. King Flash has risen in adversity. We must save him. However, Su Yen is asking for too much. He wants 100,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid. This is absolutely impossible. 200,000 kilograms is simply impossible. Even if the Ancestral Hall's Zhu Tian captured him, the Ancestral Hall would not give up 200,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid. Although the Divine Firmament sect had such a foundation, it was impossible for them to take it out. Once they handed over 200,000 kilograms, it would be equivalent to crippling the Divine Firmament sect's long years of accumulation. In the future, if they wanted to spend resources to nurture other young disciples, they would not have enough resources. It would easily cause their tribe to decline in the future. In short, the Divine Firmament sect's upper echelons were very worried. They wanted to save King Flash, but they did not want to pay a heavy price. They had no other choice. Even the sagely battle god from the Tao Hall had appeared but had been defeated and fled. Now, the only way to save King Flash was for the Divine Firmament sect to pay a price. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 910. Su Yen waited for 5 days and 5 nights. He was really getting impatient. Isn't this delaying things? Su Yen looked at the young cultivators of the Divine Firmament sect who were waiting here. Under Su Yen's gaze, they felt a chill run down their spines. They felt a chill in their hearts, as if they were being targeted. How hateful! Su Yen is waiting here to collect money, but he's still not satisfied. Yeah, it's only been 5 days, and Su Yen is actually getting impatient. This is too hateful. The few young experts braced themselves and did not dare to say anything. At the same time, they were wary of Su Yen. They were really worried that he would kill them directly. Now, the whole world was paying attention. They wanted to know if the Divine Firmament sect would pay the price to save King Flash. If they really did pay the price, it would be equivalent to bowing down to Su Yen. It was really ridiculous for a peak sect to bow down to Su Yen. Send someone over to negotiate. Anyway, the Divine Firmament sect will take back today's humiliation 1,000 times in the future. That's right. King Flash rose in adversity and will definitely reach the peak. In the future, he will definitely not be weaker than Su Yen. Even the Divine Firmament planet's origin mark has been strong since ancient times. It will definitely help King Flash transform. Yeah, what does Su Yen have? The future path of the Immortal State King is a competition of foundation. Now Su Yen is just showing off for a while. It's hard to say what will happen in the future. As the saying goes, every dog has its day. Su Yen will definitely pay a painful price for what he did today. Sooner or later, the Divine Firmament sect will wake him up. The Divine Firmament sect's upper echelons gritted their teeth in hatred. They were a peak sect that commanded a region of the universe and controlled hundreds of star regions. Now they had actually bowed down to Su Yen. This humiliation was enough to make the Divine Firmament sect remember it for generations to come. Of course, King Flash's value was shocking enough. Otherwise, the Divine Firmament sect would not have spent a drop of chaotic treasure liquid. Another day passed, and Su Yen was really impatient. He was restless, and his unfriendly eyes kept looking at the young experts of the Divine Firmament sect. If these people dared to retreat, he would directly kill them. I think Su Yen can't wait any longer. He has his eyes on us. F***ck, there's no justice. He can't wait for more than a few days. Is there any law and order in this world? These youths from the Divine Firmament sect were furious. Their faces and necks were red, but they did not dare to move. They were really worried that Su Yen would kill them all. All of a sudden, the silent space array lit up, rippling with space-time ripples. This made Su Yan's eyes light up. The experts of the Divine Firmament sect had come. It seemed that they were prepared to pay a price to ransom him. Su Yen waited patiently, no longer showing any signs of impatience. This made those young people so angry that they wanted to curse. Looks like the Divine Firmament sect is prepared to ransom him. King Flash is too important to them. However, King Flash has suffered two crushing defeats. It will be difficult for him to rise again in the future. I'm afraid his fighting spirit has been wiped out. That's right. However, King Flash is a paragon of a star region after all. If they can save him, the Divine Firmament sect will definitely think of a way. Losing is actually not scary. What's scary is losing his fighting spirit. I wonder if King Flash will be able to rise again in the future? A Peak sect had spent countless resources to nurture King Flash. If there were no accidents, King Flash could rise again. After all, there were always some rare treasures in the world that could help people cultivate and seize the fortune and opportunities in the world. A Peak sect had been passed down for a long time, so they definitely had such treasures in their hand. At that moment, a figure appeared in the Divine Firmament sect's space array. Vaguely, an ancient divine aura spread out and swept through the area, shocking the onlookers. It seemed like the Divine Firmament sect was determined to save King Flash. This was because the person who had come was a divine king. He had used a special method to seal the divine king's Dao fruit. It was similar to Han Zhongming's situation previously. However, it was very risky. The Divine Firmament sect also had hostile factions. If the divine king died in such a situation, they would suffer a great loss. The person who walked out was dressed in a wind and thunder robe. He had an awe-inspiring divine might, and he exuded an awe-inspiring majesty. When he saw the Lightning King lying on the mountainside, his body withered and his life aura about to completely dissipate, boundless anger rippled in his heart. This divine king was one of King Flash's masters. He held a high position in the Divine Firmament sect. Lei Zhenhe. Some people were shocked. This was the Divine Firmament sect's deputy sect master. It was said that he had cultivated to the peak of the Divine King and was infinitely close to becoming a mighty figure. In the future, there was a glimmer of hope for him to transcend the realm of mighty figures. No one had expected Lei Zhenhe to come out personally. He really put down his old face. Lei Zhenhe walked out of the spatial array. His eyes were as calm as water as he looked at Su Yen. He said calmly, "I am Lei Zhenhe. Fellow Taoist Su Yan's name is really well known. Meeting you today, you are indeed a dragon among men." Lei Zhenhe was not deliberately flattering Su Yen. Now, Su Yen was indeed worthy of such an evaluation. He was valued by the peak experts of the Divine King. Such a person was basically on the same level as the Divine King. Speaking of the feud between the Divine Firmament sect and Su Yen, Lei Zhenhe smiled bitterly. In fact, it was not a big deal in the beginning. Now that things had developed to this point, the Divine Firmament sect was also very helpless. Why did they provoke this lunatic in the first place? Moreover, no one had expected Su Yen to forcefully step into the Chaos Channel. In just a few months, he had even set off a bloody storm and done many terrifying things. Moreover, he was directly recognized by the world as a supreme heavens, possessing the peak combat strength of his peers. Now, he even monopolized the god Burial Mountain and looked down on all the heroes in the world. Who would dare to underestimate the current Su Yen? Don't be so polite. Su Yen replied calmly. You are the divine king of this generation. I'm afraid your status in the divine firmament sect is very high. You should also know my conditions. Fellow Taoist Su Yen, 100,000 caddies of chaos treasure liquid is absolutely impossible. Lei Zhenhe strode over and glanced at King Flash. He said, You are asking for too much. Even a mighty figure can't have so much chaos treasure liquid. Then why are you here? Are you here to send King Flash off? Su Yen sneered. Haha, Su Yen. Lei Zhenhe negotiated with him calmly. Actually, the enmity between us is really a bit laughable. Back then, you saved King Flash, and our divine king blocked you. It was indeed immoral, but after all, you had previously severed his bloodline. Of course, no matter what our divine firmament sect did previously was indeed beneath our dignity. Lei Zhenhe said calmly, Today on the god Burial Mountain, King Flash has suffered enough. Today, I am here to take King Flash away. I said, let's not talk about this nonsense. Su Yen replied coldly, King Flash has repeatedly attacked me. He was defeated by me because he was not as strong as me. Now that he is on the god Burial Mountain, I can spare his life. However, if you want to take King Flash away, I will not do it without paying a certain price. Remember, you are the one who needs my help now. I know that. After all, King Flash is our sect's only star domain paragon. He is also our divine firmament star domain's future hope. This matter is of great importance. Hearing Lei Zhenhe's words, Su Yen sneered, Why? Are you threatening me? Do you really think I don't dare to kill King Flash? Lei Zhenhe's expression turned slightly cold. He really did not believe that Su Yen would dare to kill King Flash. At most, he would let Su Yen exhaust himself here. After all, King Flash's identity and status were different from Han Wenxian and the others. Killing King Flash was equivalent to destroying the divine firmament sect's hope for a generation. It was equivalent to enraging the divine firmament sect's mighty figures. Would Su Yen really dare to kill King Flash? Mighty figures had a transcendent status. The mighty figures of the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race had stood out to target Su Yen because of the grudges between their ancestors that had accumulated over a long period of time. They did not have any status. However, mighty figures had a supreme status and basically would not interfere with the younger generation's killing. If King Flash really died in Su Yan's hands, the significance would be different. At that time, the Divine Firmament sect would definitely target the Burial Realm race. Su Yen, I don't want to say anything else. Lei Zhenhe endured the humiliation in his heart and said in a deep voice, I can make the decision. I'll give you 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid in exchange for letting King Flash go. How about that? Ah! Su Yen laughed angrily. He stared at Lei Zhenhe and laughed. You want me to do it for 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid? Are you trying to send a beggar away? The surrounding people were also speechless. The Divine Firmament sect had really come to ransom them and even paid the price. In fact, the Divine Firmament sect had already lowered their head. This was a great humiliation for a peak race and the ridicule from the outside world. However, they still lowered their heads and took out 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid to ransom them. Su Yen, Lei Zhenhe said angrily, 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid. Do you know what kind of wealth that is? I want 200,000 kilograms, but you only took out 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid. I don't see any sincerity at all. Su Yen said coldly, I think you should leave. Don't disturb my cultivation here. You! Lei Zhenhe's expression was ugly as he said in a deep voice, "How much do you want? Tell me straight." Lei Zhenhe was furious when he noticed that Su Yan had stopped talking and was sitting cross-legged to begin cultivating. Su Yan was ignoring him. However, the longer they delayed, the more danger King Flash would be in. The situation had already reached a critical point and could not be delayed any longer. 15,000 kilograms. How about this? Lei Zhenhe gritted his teeth, his heart aching terribly. What did 15,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid mean? He had never owned so much Chaos Treasure Liquid in his life. He was the Divine Firmament Sect's deputy sect master. Even someone as powerful as him did not have such a huge amount of wealth. The surrounding people gasped violently. This was a huge amount of wealth that even the Divine King was jealous of. When he noticed that Su Yan was still silent, Lei Zhenhe's aura surged uncontrollably. He wanted to barge into God Burial Mountain and kill Su Yan with his own hands. That should be enough, right? Some people hoped to complete this transaction as soon as possible. Lunatic Su was still cultivating with a huge amount of resources. I'll add another 5,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure material. Lei Zhenhe clenched his fists so tightly that crackling sounds could be heard. The blood essence in his body began to boil uncontrollably. The price he had to pay was too heavy. Su Yan continued to remain silent, causing Lei Zhenhe's expression to turn frighteningly ugly. He shouted angrily, "What do you want? Give me a straight answer. Su Yan, don't push your luck. My Divine Firmament Sect is not to be trifled with." Su Yan suddenly opened his eyes and stared coldly at Lei Zhenhe. At the same time, he secretly attacked. King Flash, who was full of anticipation, suddenly screamed. His body was about to be destroyed, transforming into a bolt of lightning that could destroy heaven and earth. Alright. This scene made Lei Zhenhe roar in his heart. This was a sign of endless potential. King Flash's foundation was becoming more and more terrifying after awakening in adversity. What's going on? King Flash's entire body trembled uncontrollably. Then, great fear emerged in his heart. This was the profundity of the lightning of heaven. How could Su Yan control the lightning of heaven? He knew very well that only Su Yan could control it. King Flash was dumbfounded. How could it be so ridiculous? How could Su Yan control the lightning of heaven? 40,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Liquid and 20,000 kilograms of Chaos Treasure Material. Lei Zhenhe growled, "If you agree, then it's fine. If not, then there's nothing to talk about. Su Yan, say something. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 911. SSS. The onlooking cultivators were all trembling, and their legs turned to jelly. They really could not walk. The price they had paid was too heavy and terrifying. 40,000 liters of Chaos Treasure Liquid and 20,000 liters of Chaos Treasure Material. Even a half-step mighty would not be able to fork out such a huge amount of wealth. However, the Divine Firmament Sect was really willing to pay. This also showed that the foundation of the Peak Tribes was really boundless. In this era of eternal strength, the Peak Tribes were getting stronger with each generation. It was not too difficult for the Divine Firmament Sect to fork out such resources. F***ck, they're really rich. The Divine Firmament Sect has spent a lot of money. Is it worth it for King Flash? The several veteran heavenly deities present were all trembling, their bodies trembling. In order to save King Flash, the Divine Firmament Sect had actually spent so much wealth. In fact, it was not particularly difficult for the Divine Firmament Sect to fork out such resources. However, it was just to buy a chance for Su Yan to help. This was even more terrifying than the 3 half-step mighty figures. Lei Zhenhe's face darkened. They had already reached the limit of what they could do. Any more and they would alarm the mighty figures. Get the mighty figures of the Divine Firmament Sect to agree and fork out resources to save King Flash? The Almighties would definitely not agree, and they would definitely not lower their head. Lowering their heads to Su Yan was not that crazy. You're still not agreeing. When he saw that Su Yan had not nodded, Lei Zhenhe was really anxious. His eyes were red. If he still did not agree, King Flash would really be hopeless. In fact, the Lightning King really wanted to shout out that the reason why Lei Zhenhe was so willing to bid was because of the potential he had released. However, the Lightning King had a dumbfounded look on his face. This wasn't his strength. Now, he understood that Su Yan was secretly causing trouble for him. This caused the Lightning King to feel despair. How could Su Yan control the lightning of the heavens? This was the most powerful divine power that had been passed down for a long time. Could it be? King Flash was terrified. Could it be because of the origin mark? But he felt that it was impossible. It was impossible for Su Yan to take his origin mark for himself. Otherwise, the world would be in chaos. After all, in the era when the peak races were always strong, the origin mark was enough to represent the long history of a star area. Just like the ancestral heaven mark in the ancestral hall, it was the flame of hope for their inheritance. Once it was taken away, the aristocratic families would go crazy. However, King Flash could not figure out how Su Yan could control the heavenly lightning. Furthermore, this lightning profound of the heavens seemed to be even more proficient than him. This made the Lightning King wish he could find a piece of tofu and kill himself. Why did he have to suffer all this? Su Yan's silence gave Lei Zhenhe a headache. He could only spend these resources and couldn't take out more. How about this? Lei Zhenhe's voice was a little hoarse. Su Yan, I'll use a universe secret realm to trade with you. What do you mean by that? Su Yan frowned. Lei Zhenhe's words were said very carefully and cautiously. He emitted a powerful aura that isolated Su Yan from the rest of the conversation and attracted Su Yan's attention. The value of a universe secret realm was immeasurable. The Divine Firmament sect was willing to spend a universe secret realm? Seeing Su Yan responding to him, Lei Zhenhe really wanted to cry. He immediately said, "Of course you can't take away a universe secret realm even if I give you one. I can tell you the location of a universe secret realm, and even a great opportunity hidden inside." Tell me about it? Su Yan was tempted. Actually, it sounds like a universe secret realm, but it's actually an incomplete universe. Lei Zhenhe's words were shocking and attracted Su Yan's attention. A clue to an incomplete universe? This information was very shocking. There's a mysterious item in this world called the reincarnation fruit. When Lei Zhenhe said this, his voice was trembling. He believed that Su Yan knew what the reincarnation fruit was. Reincarnation fruit. Su Yan found it hard to believe. How could he not know about this kind of treasure? It was rumored that once the reincarnation fruit was swallowed, it would allow one to undergo a reincarnation cycle, which was equivalent to living another life. And this life would fix all the previous flaws and deficiencies. This was an incomparably terrifying secret medicine. It was a treasure that even the Almighty would covet. This made Su Yan feel apprehensive. He calmed himself down and said, "How do I know if what you said is true or false? Are you lying to me? Moreover, even if it's a reincarnation fruit, how can I not know if it's a place of death?" Su Yan's words made Lei Zhenhe solemnly say, "If I say anything false, I will die a horrible death in the future. I can swear on my great Tao original heart. If I say anything false, I will die a horrible death." Su Yan reluctantly believed him. Swearing on one's great Tao original heart was equivalent to swearing on the great Tao of the universe. Some things had to be believed. "All right, if you can give me information that satisfies me, I will relent and allow the Lightning King to leave the mountain." Su Yan also nodded. "Great." Lei Zhenhe was overjoyed and immediately said, "This reincarnation fruit was discovered by the experts of my sect in the last universe era. At that time, the reincarnation fruit was not ripe, but in this universe era, it is definitely ripe. Aren't you going to pick it yourselves?" Su Yan frowned. The value of the reincarnation fruit could not be measured by money. There would be people who would pay hundreds of thousands of chaotic treasure liquids or even more to buy it. Lejeune has said with a wry smile, "You've seen the Lightning King's situation. He won't be able to compete for hegemony in the coming years. The reincarnation fruit is not only in our hands, but also in other forces." Su Yan's face darkened slightly. So that was the case. Then the other factions were also strong enough to make the Divine Firmament sect extremely wary. Su Yan, this is a reincarnation fruit. How great of an opportunity and fortune is it? Lejeune has said in a low voice, "I don't need to say more about the value of this information. You should be clear about it." Even if Su Yan had enemies everywhere, he would still compete for hegemony if he knew about the reincarnation fruit. After all, this thing was enough for Su Yan to pay a heavy price. If he could really obtain the reincarnation fruit, it would be a heaven-defying opportunity. If you send King Flash down the mountain, I can give you specific information about the reincarnation fruit. Lejeune has said expectantly. Unexpectedly, Su Yan swung his sleeves, and his palms suddenly enlarged. It directly pierced through the mountainside of God Burial Mountain and grabbed King Flash, who was about to die. Immediately after, Su Yan directly threw King Flash down the mountain in front of everyone's dumbfounded eyes. King Flash! The young experts from the Divine Firmament sect were all excited. King Flash was thrown down. He was saved. Many people were shocked that he was thrown down just like that. Even Lejeune was a little shocked from the bottom of his heart. Su Yan was too confident and decisive. He had not paid any price, but Su Yan had already sent King Flash down the mountain. This was Su Yan's confidence. He was not afraid of them escaping at all. If Lejeune did not know what was good for him and fled with King Flash, he would not mind killing them all. The reincarnation fruit is worth fighting for. Su Yan's heart was burning with passion as he muttered to himself, "This is an immortal treasure. It's worth more than a mighty figure's sacred weapon. It's a supreme treasure that can make mighty figures go crazy. It can allow one to cultivate again and reincarnate again." At this moment, Lejeune also threw 3 spatial rings over. Su Yan raised his hand and caught them. After checking, he found that there were 15,000 liters of chaos treasure liquid inside. "Su Yan, I'll definitely send it over in the next 3 days. This is the information about the reincarnation fruit." Su Yan listened and waited for Lejeune to finish. He felt that Lejeune was not lying. In fact, he could not guarantee that Lejeune would exchange his life for his. However, Lejeune directly described the scene of the race's experts discovering the reincarnation fruit in the previous universe era. This made Su Yan's heart beat faster. It seemed that the reincarnation fruit was most likely true. However, there were corresponding conditions and times for the opening of an incomplete universe. When the time came, the fight for supremacy in this place would definitely be more intense than the Chaos Channel. The young overlords would all fight for their lives. Is it right or wrong? Lejeune sighed in his heart. He did not know if telling Su Yan about the reincarnation fruit was the right thing to do. The news about the reincarnation fruit was indeed true. However, there were several races that knew about it, and their origins were very frightening. Once the fight for it started, who knew how many experts would be killed or injured? Even Su Yan might not be able to do whatever he wanted. It was even very likely that he would die in the fight for the reincarnation fruit. However, what if Su Yan survived and even obtained the reincarnation fruit? Lejeune felt a lingering fear just thinking about it. In the end, he muttered, "I hope that King Flash will not disappoint our race. He can rise up in the face of adversity and lead our race to glory." King Flash was still conscious and felt that he was safe. However, Lejeune's muttering made King Flash panic. Rise up in the face of adversity? The Divine Firmament sect had been schemed against by Su Yan. He was not the one who had released the heavenly lightning. Su Yan was the one behind it. It's over for me. This made King Flash panic, as he did not dare to say that the loss of the heavenly lightning might be related to him. Although he did not know why he felt that it was related to him. However, once he said this, Lei Junhe would definitely go crazy. He reckoned that Lei Junhe would go crazy. Once this matter was reported to the mighty figures of his race, would King Flash still be able to live? Most importantly, he had already lost his origin mark. If his family found out about this, he did not know what the consequences would be. In short, King Flash felt that the world was gloomy. He was really in despair. Damn it. Su Yen, I'm going to kill you. In the end, King Flash roared in his heart and fainted. He really could not take it anymore and doubted his life. What hope did he have in the future? His fighting spirit was completely wiped out. King Flash, Lei Junhe and the others were extremely flustered. They immediately took out secret medicine and started to treat him. Someone praised, King Flash is indeed King Flash. He rose up in the face of adversity. Now that he has landed safely, he is in a coma. King Flash still relied on his strong willpower to persist until the end. That's right. One is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster. I believe that King Flash will rise up in the future. The Divine Firmament Sect's members were all looking forward to King Flash creating glory in the future and washing away the humiliation. Of course, they did not dare to leave now. If they did not send the Chaos Treasure liquid over, Su Yen would not let them leave God Burial Mountain. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:12. Su Yen waited for another 3 days, and the Divine Firmament Sect delivered the resources as promised. Actually, before this, the Divine Firmament Sect's upper echelons had thought that it would be better to just leave. After all, they had already formed a huge grudge with Su Yen. They really did not believe that Su Yen could leave God Burial Mountain in a short time. However, at this critical juncture, Lei Junhe really did not dare to secretly cause trouble. The sagely battle god had been forced away by Su Yen. If any accidents happened, the price they had paid previously would be gone. In short, things had already reached this stage. Lei Junhe could only spend money with tears in his eyes and work for King Flash. Just like that, the deal was completed. The Divine Firmament Sect's hearts were bleeding. The price they had paid was too heavy. It made their hearts ache, and they hated Su Yen to the core. Very little information about this deal was leaked. The group of cultivators who had heard about the deal had been severely warned by the Divine Firmament Sect. This matter had become a mystery. The experts of the various large races did not know what price the Divine Firmament Sect had paid. However, they had still lowered their heads in the end. This shocked everyone. A dignified peak race had lowered their heads to Su Yen. If news of this spread, they would be a huge laughingstock. The Divine Firmament Sect must have paid a huge price for this. They really value the Lightning King highly. This is beyond my expectations. I did not expect Su Yen to be the final winner. He is still sitting on God Burial Mountain. It is said that the experts of the Dao Hall went to negotiate with Su Yen to exchange the secrets of God Burial Mountain, but Su Yen directly rejected them. This fellow did not even give face to the Dao Hall. Could it be that he really has the confidence to climb to the peak of God Burial Mountain? Some people's expressions were uncertain. They wanted to know the secrets of God Burial Mountain, but it would be difficult for them to even climb the mountain. They really did not know how Su Yen had managed to stand on this land of death. The various large races of the Ancestral Hall were no exception. However, Su Yen had been staying on God Burial Mountain. They could not do anything to Su Yen. He moved. Zhu Yuanqing had originally planned on withdrawing the spacetime mirror's surveillance, but the scene that appeared in the spacetime mirror made the expressions of the various important figures outside change. They saw Su Yen suddenly stand up and begin walking towards the mountain peak. From this moment on, the entire place was so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. On the other hand, the experts of the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race were faintly ferocious. Su Yen was climbing a mountain. Could he really climb to the top? Some people found it laughable. Shouldn't the future be dominated by the pinnacle clans? Wasn't the competition between the younger generation supposed to be a competition between the northern demons and the others? However, since the opening of the 10 great passageways in the primal chaos ruins until now, they had been constantly paying attention to Su Yen and his growth. Now that he was standing on top of God Burial Mountain, a land of death, every movement he made affected his nerve. Too many people did not want Su Yen to continue. They wanted him to leave the mountain, but Su Yen was stunned and stood still. Moreover, he was getting closer and closer to the mountain peak. He only needed to take a dozen or so steps to reach the peak of God Burial Mountain and witness the unparalleled glory of this danger zone. Boom! With every step he took, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. The sound of thunder exploded. Su Yen seemed to carry the weight of the heavens on his back as he walked. Step after step, his aura erupted. His figure was infinitely grand and magnificent. Finally, Su Yen stood at his peak. He emitted a godfiend's strength that could split the heavens and split the seas. He began to climb towards the peak of God Burial Mountain. Thump, thump. Su Yen took 5 steps in a row. He withstood a monstrous pressure and carried a crushing pressure. His figure was tall to the extreme. At this moment, his brilliance attracted the attention of all the experts present. With every step, Su Yen found it difficult to breathe. It was as if he had walked for thousands of years. Because it was too unbearable, the exhaustion on his body was also astonishing. When he took a total of 9 steps, the entire crowd erupted into an uproar. Even the Divine King's expressions changed. He could actually take a total of 9 steps in succession. Su Yen was now only 3 steps away from the peak. This caused the experts of the various races in the Ancestral Hall to lose control. They roared in anger. They felt that this was impossible. Su Yen would never reach the peak of God Burial Mountain. Boom! With another step, it was as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. The spectating cultivators at the foot of the mountain trembled. They felt as if their bodies would explode. They were frightened to death. They saw Su Yen erupt with limitless power. His head of black hair danced in the wind. The moment his blood energy surged, it was as if the heavens were sinking. However, even with such a strong human strength, Su Yan's treasured body was still trembling slightly. It was as if the stars in the universe were smashing onto his body, wanting to shatter everything about Su Yen. Roar! Su Yen faced the sky and roared. He withstood the limitless pressure and took another step. This step was as if he was stepping on the corpses of gods and demons. The peerless impact caused Su Yan's body to tremble. He spat out a mouthful of blood and cracks appeared on his body. It was as if he was going to be torn to pieces. This terrifying pressure caused Su Yan's entire body to tremble. He won't make it. The Han family's old grandmaster sneered. How can a danger zone be so easily broken through? Su Yen cannot reach the peak. Although he is still a step away, the difficulty of these last 3 steps is as great as the difference between heaven and earth. Moreover, even if he does reach the peak, he is still a crucial step away from reaching the peak. Some people nodded in agreement. A monster region powerhouse sneered and said, Su Yen grasps this secret and yet he can't unearth the good fortune within. How laughable! If my clan's northern monster were here, he would definitely be able to break through the limit and reach the peak. Some people saw this joke and relaxed inwardly. They could see Su Yan's current problem. Moreover, more than a year had already passed and he was still pacing back and forth here. This meant that Su Yen had already reached his limit. He's moving again. Many people were shocked. Their eyes widened as they saw Su Yen take an important step forward. The moment his feet touched the ground, God Burial Mountain seemed to rumble on its own. It was like a giant that had been slumbering for billions of years was quietly awakening. This was an aura that caused the world to prostrate in worship. As it spread out, the surrounding cultivators at the foot of God Burial Mountain were all paralyzed on the ground. They were all bowing towards the peak of God Burial Mountain. This was because there was a great fear in their hearts. They didn't dare to look at God Burial Mountain because they felt as if they would perish if they looked. It really was like a monarch that overlooked the world was awakening. His divine might was matchless and could not be blasphemed. They didn't even have the qualifications to look at his elegant demeanor. God Burial Mountain seemed to have a life of its own. It was magnificent to the extreme. It towered between the heavens and earth and could be called an overlord that overlooked the past, present, and future. It caused all living beings in the universe to tremble in fear. Even the images in the space-time mirror were blurry. But they could also see that Su Yan's body was splitting apart. His entire body was about to explode into a bloody mist. Ah! Su Yan reared his head back and roared. This sort of extreme pressure made Su Yan feel as if he was walking towards death. He couldn't control his body, and it was about to break apart. Soon, he would be crushed into a bloody mist. Ha ha ha, Su Yan is finished. He will perish on God Burial Mountain. He clearly had the chance to leave the mountain, but he didn't. He even wanted to break through this danger zone and unearth the good fortune within. How laughable! Good fortune is accompanied by death. It's clear that Su Yan's strength isn't enough to withstand the good fortune. Some people sneered and some people had complex feelings. After all, once Su Yan perished on God Burial Mountain, his secrets would be buried forever. Moreover, his massive wealth would also be buried on the Demon Mountain. This sort of pressure that caused all living beings in the universe to feel despair was completely pressing down on Su Yan's shoulders. There was only one way to describe it: to die a horrible death. Su Yan was enduring the danger of having his body and bones crushed. However, in this desperate situation, his primordial spirit finally began to erupt. Drops of green-colored treasure liquid bloomed in his sea of consciousness. They burned, and an extremely exuberant soul spirit emerged. These drops of primordial spirit medicines were supreme primordial spirit treasures that people yearned for even in their dreams. This was the essence of divine medicines and could even allow one's primordial spirit to evolve. And now, Su Yan had taken out all the essence of these primordial spirit medicines. After igniting them, the blue liquid that was born began to swarm towards Su Yan's primordial spirit. In that instant, Su Yan's body froze. This also included his primordial spirit. His bloody body also began to emit a sweet fragrance. Su Yan's forehead was translucent, and it was as if a divine jade liquid had been born within. It gushed out with misty light and was incomparably beautiful. An astonishing display was that when Su Yan's primordial spirit swallowed, his golden soul body blazed with a great deal of heat. It was like a small sun that was rapidly expanding. Uncontrollable pure soul energy gushed out from within. Bang! Su Yan's primordial spirit seemed to open the heavens in the primal chaos. As he roared, a rain of light appeared. His primordial spirit transformed into a great Buddha that sat cross-legged in the future, chanting the runes of the great Tao. The primordial spirit that was originally sitting in the future was blurry. But now, because it was nourished by the primordial spirit medicines, it became increasingly clear and resplendent. Moreover, it carried with it the pressure of time and space. It was like a torrential flood of the future was sweeping through the world, filled with an unfathomable and world-shaking divine might. The golden primordial spirit swallowed 9 mouthfuls in a row. He swallowed all of the primordial spirit treasure liquid. From this moment onwards, Su Yan's golden primordial spirit had increased by a large margin. His soul chi surged and was suffused with a terrifying soul chi. He could easily erupt with an unparalleled peerless attack. It was as if the divine king's primordial spirit was awakening. His soul energy soared into the sky, and his golden soul body was intertwined with thousands of heavenly marks. His aura was like that of the only true God in the world. He looked solemn and dignified, like a great Buddha that was about to deliver all living beings from torment. His primordial spirit had completely transformed. It had been greatly nourished and had become several times stronger. His immortal will could cover everything within 100,000 miles. No wind or grass could hide from him. When the vast power of the primordial spirit spread to Su Yan's blood-stained body, it was magnified several times. At this moment, he felt that his constitution had been magnified countless times. His figure was broad and tall, as if he were the only one in the world. Under the observation of his primordial spirit, Su Yan discovered that there were many problems and flaws in his cultivation. His physical body even contained some physical treasures that had yet to be opened. They were in a sealed state. Looking at them, it was as if he was looking at a condensed universe hidden in his body. Boom! Su Yan had fully recovered. He swallowed the primordial spirit liquids desperately to make up for his shortcomings and excavate the treasures in his body at the same time. He knew that he was about to undergo a great transformation. Chapter 9:13. At the peak of God Burial Mountain, where corpses were piled up like mountains, a divine light suddenly appeared. The scene changed too quickly. The scene projected by the space-time mirror made the experts of the various races gasp. Some people were speechless, especially the divine firmament sex experts, whose faces were gloomy. These were their resources, and now Su Yan was squandering them. Now Su Yan seemed to be struggling, but he had sacrificed endless resources. Who knew how much chaos treasure liquid had been ignited by Su Yan, causing a shocking scene to appear on God Burial Mountain. Endless energy gushed out like a million volcanoes erupting together. The vast chaotic aura pierced through the sky, extremely resplendent. Moreover, chaos dragons appeared one after another, coiling between heaven and earth, spewing chaotic power. The energy was so exuberant that it made one's hair stand on end. Su Yan unleashed an immeasurable amount of resources, which was equivalent to burning 10,000 drops of primal chaos liquid. This scene was shocking, and even the eyes of divine kings turned red. If they could devour the immeasurable amount of essence, their lifespan would definitely increase explosively, and their foundations would be strengthened. This kind of extravagant method was truly hard to come by in all of history. However, now that it had been activated by Su Yan, it was as if he was sitting on a chaotic ocean. Extremely pure chaotic power coiled around his body, running through his limbs and bones. There's no justice in this world. The divine king's face turned green. The chaos treasure liquid was surging like a tide. Did the peak heroes of the various races receive such treatment? However, now that Su Yan had unleashed all of it, he wanted to break through in the most domineering manner possible. What a waste, what a waste. A dead person is really too wasteful. Some people felt that Su Yan was struggling at death's door, vainly trying to extend his life with the chaos treasure liquid. No one felt that Su Yan was trying to break through. How many resources did the Divine Firmament sect give to rescue King Flash? Some people looked at the group of gloomy experts from the Divine Firmament sect. These people from the Ancestral Hall all had unfriendly expressions. They had provided Su Yan with a huge amount of resources. Fortunately, Su Yan was trapped in a desperate situation. Otherwise, it would be quite troublesome. Hurry up and die. The upper echelons of the Divine Firmament sect had ugly expressions. The price they had paid was much more terrifying than they had imagined. Su Yan had only used a portion of it. If he had used all of it, it would have been enough to make even a half-step Almighty jealous. Su Yan's messy hair draped over his shoulders. He sat cross-legged at the foot of the mountain peak, withstanding the pressure of the world incinerating. At the same time, he was using the immeasurable primal chaos liquid to temper his body. Why did he choose to break through here? Because the pressure here was strong enough, it was enough to show Su Yan's inadequacies. However, Su Yan caught it with his primordial spirit and used his boundless essence qi to forcefully reforge his corporeal body. He wanted to stand at the absolute peak and dig out the treasures in his body. This would take a very long time, and it was not something that could be completed in just a few days. But Su Yan had a massive amount of resources, enough for him to squander. He calmly went into seclusion, his entire being immersed in his mortal body. He silently tempered his mortal body and repaired its flaws. Time slowly passed. 3 days had passed, but Su Yan still did not move. The primal chaos liquid's essence did not weaken at all. This was a shocking scene. It was hard to imagine that Su Yan had accumulated such a strong foundation. However, the 10 chaos passageways were not quiet at all. Ever since the 9th Chaos Divine Mountain's creation dissipated, the other Divine Mountain's creation had also completely dissipated. Recently, the 3rd Chaos Divine Mountain shone brightly as if a world-burning fire had been born. It shocked the cultivators in the 3rd Chaos Passageway. They looked at the peak of the Chaos Divine Mountain and saw that it really seemed to be burning. Oh my God! All living beings turned pale as they saw the suns in the outer realms sink and be swallowed by the sea of fire. A figure was also born from it. Its divine might was monstrous as it bathed in the divine flames of the 9 heavens. Its aura was blazing. It was incomparably hot, and the temperature it emitted was terrifying. It could easily evaporate an ocean. When it awakened to the extreme, huge suns appeared behind it. Sun Dome. The great figures were all stunned. This was the 9 Yang Sex Yang Qiong, who was trying to break through against the heavens. People could vaguely see that the Yang Qiong had turned into a flame that could burn the primordial chaos. It emitted a power that could burn the heavens. Oh my God, this is too terrifying! This is enough to prove that Sun Dome has merged with the primal chaos flame origin from the Phoenix Pavilion's auction back then. That is one of the strongest primal chaos origin chi in the world. Now that Sun Dome has merged with it, he has broken through to the heavenly god realm. It is enough for him to strive for the top of the world. The whole place was in an uproar. The experts of the Divine Firmament sect had ugly expressions. Sun Dome and King Flash were originally experts in the same realm. But now, Sun Dome was standing in the same realm, while King Flash was still recuperating in his family. The gap was too big. This made them hate Su Yan to the core. They wanted nothing more than to see him die. Roar. A few more days passed, and a deep roar shook the mountains and the stars. It was like the roar of 10,000 beasts, shaking all life in the universe. This sound seemed to be released by the king of 10,000 beasts. Another terrifying existence had succeeded in breaking through. The era of the northern demons had arrived. Their huge bodies were densely covered in golden scales, emitting the terrifying power of a demon god. The vast heavenly Tao resonated with them. During this process, people could vaguely see that the northern demons were like a qilin. They let out a long roar that shook the moons in the universe. It was filled with the aura of a peerless overlord, shaking the 3rd chaos channel. Our northern demons have finally stepped into the heavenly god realm. Ha 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 ha. The experts of the northern demon race laughed loudly. Everyone could see clearly that the northern demons were powerful and prosperous. Their aura swallowed tens of thousands of miles. Demonic chi filled the sky, lingering with endless divine might. Some people were suspicious. Could it be that the northern demons had merged with the primal chaos origin chi of a qilin? If that was really the case, then it was heaven-defying. This was a peerless substance that was not inferior to the primal chaos origin chi. It was even very suitable for the northern demons. During this period of time, the 10 chaos channels were continuously shaken. Peak geniuses were breaking through one after another. There were even peerless generals that entered the heavenly god realm. It could be said that this was an era of explosive growth. After all, the chaos channel had been open for a long time. This day should have arrived. Zhu Tian hasn't broken through yet? Someone was suspicious. There hasn't been much activity at the 10th Chaos Divine Mountain. This caused some people to laugh. Zhu Tian left the Chaos Channel long ago. He doesn't need the help of the Chaos Divine Mountain to break through. The Ancestral Hall has control over many universe secret realms in the Chaos Ruins. Some people were enlightened and bitterly smiled. This was truly infuriating. The Ancestral Hall had universe secret realms. Perhaps the various superpowers in the Chaos Ruins had also opened their own universe secret realms to increase the strength of the younger generation. However, 99% of the cultivators would have to try their luck and see if they could find some universe secret realms. The era of fierce competition has arrived. The older generation experts sighed. The land of fortune was about to come to an end. Next would be the various universe secret realms and even incomplete universes. There were also people who looked at Su Yan with pity and sighed, "Poor Su Yan. He hasn't even figured out whether he's dead or alive. He's been trapped in a desperate situation for 10 days and 10 nights. No matter how many resources he has, he can't afford to squander them like this." His enemies have all entered the heavenly god realm, but Su Yan is still stuck in the god realm. His cultivation has fallen behind by a lot. It will be hard for him to catch up in the future. That's right. Su Yan has been at God Burial Mountain for 1 or 2 years. If he doesn't leave, he will most likely be crippled. Some people commented their own opinions. North Devil and the others were also paying close attention to Su Yan. After learning that Su Yan was still at God Burial Mountain, they laughed coldly. "I hope he can leave the mountain alive. We will wait for him in front. If he can leave alive, I will return." The generals who were chasing after North Devil were all excited. Now that North Devil had succeeded in his heaven technique, his battle power had multiplied. When he faced Su Yan again, he would definitely be able to suppress Su Yan in his most glorious era. Now, the situation of the 10 great chaos pathways was clear. The young experts who had entered the heavenly god realm all entered the vast Chaos Ruins world. In the years to come, there would definitely be all kinds of shocking news that would frequently spread. Of course, the Chaos Ruins didn't restrict Divine King from entering. However, for some universe secret realms, most of them couldn't withstand the entry of 2 strong beings. Because of the passage of time, these secret realms had reached their limit. Once an overly strong cultivator entered, it was very likely that the secret realms would collapse. In the Chaos Ruins, the secret realms and the fortunes in the incomplete universe were the rare treasures that they had to fight for. Here at God Burial Mountain, he was still the center of attention. The cultivators of the various factions were also paying attention to Su Yan's movements. After all, this was a place of death. Time passed day by day. Every day, Su Yan was nourished by a sea of chaos essence. It washed through his flesh and bones, causing his body to shine like crystal and be flawless. Su Yan's body was broken and reformed. This repeated back and forth, as if he had gone through many cycles of reincarnation. All of this originated from the terrifying pressure of the primal chaos immortal mountain, which allowed Su Yan to continuously shatter his previous flaws and reforge his new physical body. He didn't even know how much chaos liquid he had swallowed. In short, Su Yan had spent countless resources. Finally, he slowly resisted the pressure of heaven and earth. His body was vaguely steaming, piercing through the sky with a myriad of blood essence light. Dong! Inexplicably, a sound appeared. At first, it sounded erratic, but this sound appeared again, and the momentum was grander and grander. It was as if a sleeping ancient creature was emitting vitality. The sudden change made the cultivators at the foot of the mountain tremble because they felt that Su Yan seemed to be undergoing some kind of awakening. That is, in the next moment, they were overwhelmed with shock as they saw a resplendent heart within the shadow that was enveloped by the boundless power of primal chaos. Some kind of innate potential had been unlocked, some kind of hidden treasure within the body. It was as if a condensed ancient universe had been opened. This also led to an immeasurable amount of primal chaos essence penetrating Su Yan's heart. It was as if his heart had swallowed an ocean of primal chaos. The moment it poured into his heart, it violently blasted open the hidden treasures of his physical body. How is this possible? Their scalps tingled. What was this? Su Yan seemed to have swallowed thousands of kilograms of chaos liquid in an instant before he blasted open the hidden treasure in his body. It was as if a universe had been opened, and it was as if a heavenly drum had been beaten. In an instant, heaven and earth collapsed. The terrifying pressure made many of the onlookers fly out like kites with broken strings. They spat out blood, and the blood essence in their bodies churned as if they had been struck by lightning. Heavens! They trembled. What kind of vast amount of blood essence was flowing? It actually emitted the sound of 9 heavens' divine thunder. The transformation of the heart caused Su Yan's entire body to release life essence that was as thick as the sky. It was as if an immortal furnace was burning the world into a huge black hole. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:14. This is too powerful. Su Yan has awakened again. The cultivators at the foot of the mountain were trembling with fear. They simply couldn't withstand the divine might emanating from Su Yan's body. At this moment, Su Yan appeared too tall and mighty. The essence blood in his body pierced through the heavens like 10,000 true dragons. Bloody light overflowed, creating a world-shaking scene. All the spectators were dumbfounded. How could this kind of change happen? Unfortunately, the scene in the space-time mirror was limited. The important figures of various races didn't know what was going on. They only saw the essence blood rushing into the heavens, filling the universe and emitting a deafening sound of thunder. Could it be that Su Yan has broken through to the heavenly deity realm? Someone stammered, causing some people to nod in agreement. Otherwise, how could Su Yan suddenly become so powerful? This didn't conform to common sense, unless he really broke through to the heavenly deity realm. This was a scene where the limit was broken. It made Su Yan come into contact with a brand new environment. It was also as if he had severed the shackles on his body. His entire body burst out, soaring into the sky with the radiance of essence blood. He was too brilliant and dazzling. His battle body was resplendent. The essence blood in his body pierced through the heavens. The energy that leaked out of his pores pierced through the heaven and earth. In the heavens and on the earth, only Su Yan was eternal. The radiance he emitted was so dazzling that it hurt the eyes of others. The cultivators near God Burial Mountain were all dumbstruck. Why was it so different from what they had expected? Is this a sign of the limit being broken? I feel like I'm a heavenly deity realm powerhouse now. Su Yan murmured. He suddenly felt that the world couldn't accommodate him. He seemed to be able to pierce through the great Tao of the heavens with a raise of his hand. This was a kind of embodiment of power to the extreme. Su Yan was both surprised and delighted. As long as he stood out to clarify, people would think that Su Yan was a heavenly deity realm powerhouse. One had to say that this was quite astonishing and heaven-defying. It broke the world's understanding of the limits of battle prowess. In fact, this was only the first human body treasure. To open the treasure hidden in the human body, one needed a huge amount of foundation to support it. Of course, the other treasures in the human body were not as grand and magnificent as this one. As long as he spent some time and had a strong foundation, he could forcefully open it and temper his body to the extreme. Buzz. His entire body shone, directly devouring a sea of chaotic precious liquid, continuing to pass through the other human treasures. With each passing day, Su Yan's aura grew stronger by a bit. It was hard for the world to imagine what Su Yan had experienced. Had he already broken through to the heavenly god realm? Had he obtained something on God Burial Mountain? What the hell is going on? What kind of secret is hidden in God Burial Mountain? The experts of the various races in the ancestral hall had gloomy expressions. They were in a bad mood, feeling as if they were about to have a heart attack. As long as they couldn't figure out what Su Yen had done, they wouldn't be able to feel at ease. They didn't care whether or not Su Yen had broken through to the heavenly god realm. What they truly cared about was what sort of lucky chance Su Yen had obtained at the summit of God Burial Mountain. This was the most important result. The scene on God Burial Mountain was divine to the extreme. Everything originated from the scene of Su Yan's birth. Heaven and earth were incomparably blazing, suppressing everything. The blood stench and purgatory space were completely covered up. Su Yan's blood essence roiled, surging like a tide, surging and surging. It was spectacular to the extreme. With each passing day, his body became a bit more majestic. This type of might was extremely difficult to control, because he was strong enough, powerful to the point where he could destroy a corner of the heavens. Su Yan's body was full of blood essence. With each breath, the surroundings rumbled. He was truly tyrannical to the extreme, extremely difficult to take another step forward. Am I really at the heavenly deity realm? Su Yen asked himself. He felt unprecedentedly tyrannical, to the extent where he could even use the heavens for his own use. This was strength that only heavenly deities should have, but Su Yen had touched upon it ahead of time. Su Yen felt that his cultivation had reached perfection. He had unearthed the treasures of his physical body, standing at the peak of his peers. Once his aura erupted, that terrifying great Tao heavenly force was enough to suppress kings, turning him into a heavenly deity realm expert. Yes and no, I have a physical body. As long as I complete the heavenly deity realm, only then can I be considered a true heavenly deity. However, I have the battle prowess of a heavenly deity in advance. Su Yen was excited. After cultivating to this step, he was already an independent expert. He estimated that from the current cultivation time, it would only take a few years for him to reach the heavenly deity realm. However, the resources he had consumed these days were enormous. Su Yen estimated that he had consumed at least 20,000 jin of primal chaos liquid. This was a huge amount of wealth, making Su Yen endlessly shocked. Although he had broken through some kind of limit, he had also paid a sufficiently great price. Could it be that the environment of the world in history is fundamentally different from the present? If everyone can walk the same path as me, who can support this kind of cultivation intensity? Is it understandable? The lack of resources of the world is incomparable to the world in history. This is enough to show the importance of the universe's secret realms. Some of the incomplete universes might be related to prehistory. Su Yen thought to himself. He felt that his situation was very special. He was really like a heavenly deity, able to raise his battle prowess to the limit of the domain and fight a bloody battle with the overlords of the heavenly deity realm. Actually, no matter how strong my physical body is, it is all preparation for the next step. Su Yen pondered. In the heavenly deity realm, he wanted to borrow the strength of his physical body to break through and not become one with the universe's great Tao. This might be very difficult. Su Yen did not know what would happen once he broke through. He had never heard of this kind of cultivation method before. It was equivalent to reversing the rules of the universe. He was afraid that it would not be easy to succeed. Of course, the reality was hard to predict. Everything was built on oneself. As long as Su Yan's physical body was strong enough, he could try. Even if he encountered a calamity of the world, he could survive with his powerful physical body. It's time to break through. Su Yen opened the bottleneck of the realm that he could not control. His divine power resonated and the light of the great Tao burned. In the instant his physical body breathed, the essence of the primal chaos liquid drifting in the void all flowed back into Su Yan's treasured body. Rumble. In an instant, Su Yan's aura increased again. He pierced through the 8th layer of the divine spirit realm. His aura was powerful to the extreme. He was only one step away from the peak of the divine spirit realm. Heavens, Su Yan can still continue to erupt and strengthen. He has definitely stepped into the heavenly deity realm. Otherwise, he would not have such powerful battle prowess. Inconceivable, Su Yan has only stepped into the divine spirit realm for 2 or 3 years, but now he is actually standing at the heavenly deity realm. Did Su Yan break through some kind of cultivation speed? The entire audience was in an uproar. All the onlookers cried out in disbelief. This cultivation speed made them despair. If he stepped into the heavenly deity realm at such a young age, then how far could the divine king be from Su Yan? Su Yan's aura was frightening. He was like a young divine king sitting cross-legged at the peak of God Burial Mountain. He was filled with a kind of domineering aura, as if he was the sole sovereign. This kind of embodiment was truly world-shaking. It was as if a young divine king was sitting cross-legged between heaven and earth. His figure was blazing. His blood essence was like a tide, surging and rippling. Even the heavens could not hide Su Yan's aura. It was rumbling. He is a heavenly deity. He is definitely a heavenly deity. No one felt that Su Yan was still a divine spirit. Otherwise, Su Yan's current situation was very difficult to explain. After all, Su Yan's entire body was emitting a kind of mighty force that crushed the heavens. This was the most direct embodiment of becoming a heavenly deity. Su Yan actually broke into the heavenly deity realm on God Burial Mountain. Could it be that he obtained a great stroke of luck? That's hard to say, but I feel that Su Yan's harvest on God Burial Mountain should be even more astonishing than his harvest on Primal Chaos Divine Mountain. There is no justice in this world. The danger zone of all previous generations has actually helped Su Yan. But he still hasn't reached his peak state. Some people were silent, some people were discussing, and some people were going crazy. In short, everything that Su Yan experienced was hard for them to believe. But the scenes projected by the space-time mirror told them the truth. Su Yan had ascended once more, his combat strength multiplying. Why do I feel like the environment of the world is suppressing me? After Su Yan broke through, he wasn't overjoyed. Instead, a dignified expression appeared on his face. He felt that he was strong enough, but he discovered that the environment of the world was suppressing him. It was as if Su Yan had walked down the path of the ancient people in the divine realm. Because of this, the current environment of the universe couldn't tolerate him. This made him frown. This kind of connection was amazing. The environment of the universe had changed. After the era of the immortal planet, there was a gap in ancient history. Unfortunately, he didn't know everything about the immortal planet. Otherwise, he might be able to speculate what kind of changes had happened in the universe. Of course, this kind of suppression wasn't too strong. Su Yan hadn't reached the point where he could be suppressed by the rules of the universe. Only a strong enough existence might be suppressed, but how strong would that be? I'm so weak now. I shouldn't think about this. It's easy to get lost in it. Su Yan shook his head. He was in the divine realm. In the future, he would have to overcome one obstacle after another. From the divine realm to the divine realm to the divine king. These obstacles alone were enough to stump billions of creatures. Su Yan stood up and stretched his limbs. His eyes fell on the peak of God Burial Mountain. Is he going to climb the mountain? This scene touched their nerves. Everyone wanted to know what kind of opportunity existed at the peak of God Burial Mountain. But Su Yan was infinitely close. His realm had even broken through. It was very likely that he would rush up. Boom. Suddenly, people saw Su Yan moving forward, but his shadow was blurry. Even the space-time mirror couldn't see too much. Then, to their horror and uneasiness, Su Yan disappeared. He disappeared from God Burial Mountain. He went up. Oh my God, he went up so easily. The land of death was broken by Su Yen. Everyone's expression changed as they cried out in alarm. The faces of the divine kings from the various powers in the ancestral palace turned green. How could Su Yen climb up? A long time had passed. God Burial Mountain had gone through many eras of the universe. No one had succeeded in climbing the mountain. But Su Yen not only lived on God Burial Mountain for more than a year, but he also climbed to the peak of God Burial Mountain and disappeared from the eyes of the world. Just like this, a young man holding the Celestial Emperor's war banner climbed to the peak of God Burial Mountain. It was as if he had stepped on the road back to his homeland. He only left a footprint before disappearing from the eyes of the world. This day was destined to be recorded in history. The entire world would be shocked. A place with no life had been broken by Su Yen just like that. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:15. Su Yen had broken through the evil that had existed for countless years and successfully reached the peak of God Burial Mountain. Once news of this spread out, it would surely shock the world. Even supreme elders would pay close attention to it. After all, God Burial Mountain was a danger zone. It had been a danger zone for countless years. Let alone opening it up, even exploring it for a period of time was difficult. But Su Yen had miraculously cultivated on God Burial Mountain for a year or two, and now he had even reached the peak. This left everyone shocked. The faces of the ancestral hall's great clans darkened to the extreme. After all, Su Yen might have obtained some unimaginable lucky chance. Of course, no one knew what was at the top of God Burial Mountain. Perhaps there were lucky chances, or perhaps there were dangers. They wanted to understand, but even with the space-time mirror, the peak of God Burial Mountain was a blur. Faintly, a terrifying power of time appeared, preventing anyone from probing. A supreme elder stood in front of God Burial Mountain. They couldn't see the scenery at the peak. I really hope he dies up there. The rulers of the monster region all felt a headache coming on. They didn't want to see Su Yen return from the mountain. If he really did obtain some incredible treasure, the variables would be far too great. I actually hope he can leave the mountain alive and bring back the secrets of God Burial Mountain. The Han family's old grandmaster's voice was cold and gloomy. He said, "He is just a minor character. No matter how great his potential is, in the Chaos Ruins, even a mighty dragon must lie low. Even peerless geniuses must keep a low profile. We are the true masters of the Chaos Ruins." The Han family and the other great clans had existed in the Chaos Ruins for countless eras. Their background had never declined. In the battles of the Chaos Ruins, they had been the greatest beneficiaries. They didn't believe that a single person could overturn the heavens and grasp such a terrifying secret without dying. Even if the North Monster and the others grasped this secret, there would still be people who would come and force him to reveal the secrets of God Burial Mountain. After all, this danger zone was a place that even supreme elders coveted. If someone were to return with a secret, would those people be able to sit still? The answer was absolutely impossible. Once Su Yen left the mountain, that would mean a great calamity was about to descend. Many unrelated powerhouses were tempted. They hoped that Su Yen would leave the mountain and return with a secret that no one had been able to unravel for countless years. Some people were even moving in the dark, joining forces in secret, wanting to make a big move. This is bad. I think they're going to team up and defeat Su Yen. A few old experts sensed that the atmosphere here wasn't right. There was a terrifying killing intent surging in the darkness, so cold that it penetrated their bones. Their expressions became heavy. Some people didn't wish for Su Yen to leave the primal chaos passage alive. Even the experts who weren't involved revealed murderous intent. The opportunities in the danger zone were too great. They couldn't sit still at all. If he goes down the mountain, he will definitely die. The clans of the Fiend region found it hard to control their killing intent. For the secret of the danger zone, it was worth it for them to take action. Even if they angered the old leader of the buried region, they didn't care. Their determination to kill Su Yen grew even stronger. However, at the peak of God Burial Mountain, which was also the peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain, Su Yan's encounter exceeded everyone's expectations. Su Yan reached the peak. He was shaken, a kind of throbbing that came from his soul. His eyes looked all around, and there was a stifling fluctuation in his heart. It was as if he was being suppressed in a deep abyss, and a feeling of insignificance grew in his heart. The mountain peak was large, so large that it was unimaginable. It was as vast and grand as a jade universe. The peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain was exceptionally grand, as if it could cover one life-star field after another, as if it could suppress the entire universe. It was unimaginably grand. There was an astonishing power of time and space-time here. The area Su Yan stood on seemed small, but it was actually as vast as a life-star field. This made Su Yan's hair stand on end. What kind of terrifying space-time power was this? This was the same as a grain of sand filling an ocean. In short, at the peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain, every material was exceptionally grand. Su Yan, in particular, stood at the peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain. He was so small that he couldn't even be considered a speck of dust. This really is how big the heart is, how big the world is. I estimate that even a Supreme Elder would be shocked. It's hard to imagine just how this world was formed. Su Yan was dumbfounded. Just how many lives could this peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain hold? This was hard to imagine. Of the 9 legendary Immortal Mountains, just how grand was this Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain? This was also hard to imagine. In such a terrifying world, how could such a tragic and bloody event occur here? Su Yan muttered. He couldn't help but wave the Celestial Emperor's war banner. This blood-stained war banner was the symbol of a group of races. In the past, their races had contended for supremacy here, slaughtering each other here. But Su Yan was thinking, was this place related to the Celestial Emperor? What did the Celestial Emperor represent? What kind of person was he? Was he a prehistoric powerhouse? Was he related to the buried region? In short, there were too many mysteries here. Su Yan wanted to understand them. He felt that he should be able to find some answers at the peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain. Su Yan began to wander aimlessly. The world was too grand. He wandered day and night, hoping to find some important discoveries that could be made in the exploration of ancient history. I seem to have traveled for 8 days and 8 nights. But why do I feel like I haven't even crossed a 10,000th of the territory? This place is too big. Even if the Divine King came, he probably wouldn't be able to search the peak of Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain in a few years. Perhaps it would take decades or centuries. Su Yan was even more shocked. Along the way, he had left some coordinate. This was the way back. If he couldn't find any clues, he had to return. Otherwise, he would be delayed for too long. Su Yan was even wondering if the Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain had a cave entrance like Heavenly Mountain. Would it enter the Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain? Su Yan wanted to find this entrance. Just like that, he wandered aimlessly for an unknown period of time. In the end, Su Yan's heart trembled because he discovered some buildings. Buildings. Could it be that there were ancient people who cultivated here and even opened up a Dao field? Su Yan's emotions surged. He soon arrived at his destination. These buildings had existed for too long to estimate. Almost all of them had collapsed, but after so many years, these buildings hadn't decayed. He was shocked and moved. He continued to search the collapsed buildings. In short, there were more and more buildings. Su Yan wondered if there had been an ancient city here. It had collapsed. Could it be related to the battle at Primal Chaos Immortal Mountain? He tried to dig out some ancient books from the collapsed buildings. Su Yan really found them. However, with the passage of time, these ancient books turned to dust as soon as Su Yan touched them. Even if he used his divine will to explore them, they also turned to dust. Su Yan's face was full of shock. In the end, he sighed. Time can really bury some things and cover up everything. Who knows how long the universe has existed? There must be an era even longer than the immortal planet. Generation after generation, who can be as high as time and live forever? This world? Could it be that it was impossible to achieve immortality? Live as long as the heavens? Perhaps there will be some future eras that will be very curious about our era and want to investigate the major events that happened in our era. Su Yan thought of many things. He was a little absent-minded. Or rather, could a person be strong enough to suppress the universe's time? Su Yan shook his head and smiled bitterly. He was thinking too much. He continued to search aimlessly. His intuition told him that he could find something. Just like that, he continued to search the collapsed buildings. Time passed quietly. A month had passed. Su Yan smiled bitterly. How big was this tribe? Even the peak tribes in the universe didn't have such a vast residential area. Perhaps there used to be an unimaginable tribe on the Chaos Immortal Mountain. I don't believe that I can't find any useful information here. I'm sprinting inside. Su Yan refused to give up and continued his search. His speed was very fast, not much inferior to a godking's. Su Yan's mastery of spatial compression had reached perfection. With his full strength, he covered the ground with every step he took as he began to charge towards the interior in an incomparably crazy manner. Just like that, he sprinted for 3 days and 3 nights. On this day, his expression finally changed. He looked at the road in front of him in disbelief. The buildings along the way had all dispersed. However, when he looked up at the sky, he saw the sky. It was as if he could see the peak of the heavens, floating up and down in the skies. Even after all these years, these buildings still emitted a terrifying heavenly might. Su Yan's entire body trembled because he had an uncontrollable urge to prostrate himself in worship. What was this? The buildings floating at the top of the sky were like heavenly palaces that suppressed the past, present, and future. They were filled with supreme heavenly might. How many eras had passed? However, the buildings floating in the sky still emitted a divine charm. This meant that a group of terrifying existences had once lived in this dojo. Is this an immortal palace? Is this the heavenly realm? Su Yan looked at all of this. He couldn't see the end, only a corner of the picture. In short, all of this had a great impact on Su Yan. Just as he was in shock, the silent celestial Thearka's battle flag lit up on its own. It seemed to be awakening as it scattered down waves of clear light. Have you returned to your hometown? Was this the dojo of your tribe? Could this be the celestial Thearka's cultivation dojo? Su Yan asked many questions. In short, all of this made him want to rush over and explore. Bam! Su Yan didn't hesitate. He rushed into the sky like a bolt of lightning. It was too fast. However, with Su Yan's current speed, he thought that he would be able to soar upwards. Who would have thought that the higher he went, the more vast the buildings floating in the highest heavens emitted a boundless divine might. Even Su Yan felt as if he would be suppressed. Su Yan reared his head back and roared. He withstood the astonishing pressure and continued to ascend. If it weren't for the fact that he had successfully reconstructed his mortal body on God Burial Mountain and unearthed the treasures hidden within, he wouldn't have had the qualifications to rush up. But now it was different. Su Yan dared to challenge all difficulties. Could this be considered the residence of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals? On this day, Su Yan rushed upwards, rushing towards the buildings floating in the highest heavens. At this moment, Su Yan seemed to step onto a golden avenue. This avenue was shrouded in a myriad of strands of auspicious light and immortal splendor. It was like a golden avenue that traversed the past, present, and future. As for the end of this golden avenue, there was a huge door. It was like the door to the immortal world. Standing in front of this huge door, one would feel as small as a speck of dust. But when Su Yan looked at the top of the door, His soul froze. There were 3 words that emitted a supreme majesty. He couldn't recognize these words, but he could feel the immortal might of the great Tao from these words. He knew what they were describing. Southern Heavenly Gate. Su Yen was shocked. What was this? Was this a mythical event that had been passed down in myths? Was this the Celestial Court? Baidu search Tian 81 Chinese Network. No advertising message. Chapter 9:16. Su Yen was flabbergasted. He stared at the ancient signboard above the huge door in a daze. Although he could not recognize these words, he could guess the meaning of these words from the vague immortal aura emitted by these 3 words. This was the Southern Heavenly Gate. Su Yen was momentarily dazed. Southern Heavenly Gate. There was also a Southern Heavenly Gate in ancient Huaxia mythology. It was the gate of the Celestial Court in the mythology. But now, Su Yen was on the God Burial Mountain and saw the 3 words Southern Heavenly Gate, which made him a little dazed. Then, he remembered that Earth was a later progenitor. Could it be that the legendary Southern Heavenly Gate really existed? Or could it be that the Celestial Court also existed? This made Su Yen feel incredulous. Such a familiar name. In the later progenitor, stories about the Celestial Court were widely spread among the people. Could it be that this was not written by the ancients, but a real historical event? This is heaven-defying. Su Yen stammered. Doesn't this mean that the buried realm race is really related to this mysterious race? That the Celestial Emperor belonged to this mysterious race of the Celestial Court? Su Yen had a feeling that he had touched upon a corner of the truth. His emotions surged. This was related to an ancient history that had passed away, an event that had been covered up by time. Perhaps there was once a race that commanded the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and ruled the world, and this race's title was very likely the Celestial Court, and its leader was very likely the Celestial Emperor. Of course, all of this was just a guess, but Su Yen could confirm that the Celestial Emperor Battle Banner was definitely related to the Celestial Court. And today, the Celestial Emperor Battle Banner was awakening on its own, guiding the Southern Heavenly Gate. How long ago was it that the Celestial Court once existed? Was it the supreme ruler of the universe? Su Yan's breathing was heavy. In short, there were too many connections between all of this. He never expected to see the Southern Heavenly Gate at the peak of the Chaos Immortal Mountain. Could it be said that this was the place where the Heavenly Court established their sect? Of course, all of this was just a guess, and Su Yen had no way to prove it. Even if the Celestial Court really existed, could it be said that this was the ruins of the Celestial Court? I'd like to know how this clan is related to the buried region. Su Yen muttered in a low voice. Everyone had their own curiosity. Although Su Yan's current goal was to become the pillar of the burial realm, to rewrite the structure of the burial realm, to lead the burial realm to the peak, Su Yan's current goal was to become the pillar of the burial realm. However, Su Yen couldn't wait to get to the bottom of the matter regarding the burial realm tribe. He followed the golden path step by step toward the Southern Heavenly Gate. This path was very long. The golden path had millions of strands of auspicious light, rising with immortal radiance. It was full of a divine aura. Su Yen looked like he was on a pilgrimage, solemn and dignified, his body flowing with golden radiance. Moreover, he held the Celestial Emperor Battle Banner. He was like a clansman who had left the burial realm and was returning to his homeland. Su Yen could feel the vast heavenly might emanating from the Southern Heavenly Gate at all times. This was an extremely terrifying aura that affected one's mind and will, causing one to involuntarily have the mentality of prostrating themselves in worship. Even after so many years, this heavenly might was still present. It was hard to imagine the glory and prosperity of this burial realm tribe. When Su Yen was infinitely close to the Southern Heaven Gate, his soul was trembling because the heavenly might was even more terrifying. He was so small that he was not even comparable to an ant. He was insignificant to the Southern Heaven Gate. In truth, this was only a gate. He still didn't know what was inside the southern heavenly gate, or what the legendary celestial court was like. Su Yen was lost in his thoughts. His temperament became increasingly solemn, and he didn't dare to show the slightest disrespect to the southern heavenly gate. He felt like there was something between heaven and earth that was staring at him. Perhaps if he released a different aura, he would definitely be destroyed in both body and soul. When Su Yen arrived in front of the southern heavenly gate, he felt that the world was too grand. The entire southern heavenly gate was a world of its own. It was huge and vast, and it emitted waves of energy that suffocated Su Yen. He almost couldn't breathe. How terrifying! He was terrified from the bottom of his heart. Just this aura alone was difficult for Su Yen to bear. Then, was this southern heavenly gate a supreme treasure? Was it here to guard the celestial court? Or was Su Yen thinking that since this treasure had no owner, could he take it away and use it as a gate to guard the back progenitor? If he could take away the southern heavenly gate, then it would be quite heaven-defying and terrifying. Who would be able to threaten the Milky Way in the future? Who would be able to break the southern heavenly gate? Of course, this was only a thought in Su Yan's mind. Even if he was really given a supreme treasure, with Su Yan's current cultivation, it would be extremely difficult for him to gain the recognition of a supreme treasure. I can't go in. Su Yan wanted to step into the southern heavenly gate, but he realized that there was an invisible barrier blocking his path, preventing him from taking even half a step. Using brute force to break through was no different from a fool's dream. Su Yen couldn't even withstand the aura it emitted on its own. Using brute force was akin to courting death. I want to go in. Su Yen clenched his fists, and the blood in his body boiled. He wanted to step into the southern heavenly gate and see the legendary celestial court. Boom! Just as his blood was erupting and his blood was rippling, the southern heavenly gate suddenly lit up. It was as if it had been sleeping for billions of years, and now it was faintly awakened. It was as if it was standing in another time and space, emitting an immeasurable amount of immortal aura that was enough to shock the 9 heavens and command the world. Moreover, the southern heavenly gate projected a clear radiance, as if it had opened its heavenly eye and was paying attention to Su Yen. In an instant of brilliance, Su Yen looked up to the sky and roared uncontrollably. The potential in his body leaked out uncontrollably, and his entire body's divine power burned continuously, revealing the divine power of the great Tao that could penetrate heaven and earth. The absolute overlord of a generation, no matter what kind of environment or situation, could emit the glory that belonged to Su Yen himself. He appeared to be very tall as he stood in front of the southern heavenly gate, holding the celestial emperor's battle flag with one arm. He was like a fierce general guarding the southern heavenly gate, swallowing the sky and roaring. Buzz! In the next moment, the huge amount of blood essence in Su Yan's body surged, and the indistinct 9-colored blood was suddenly ignited. This was 9-colored blood, and it was rather mysterious and shocking. It was as if 9 different colors of blood had manifested. Su Yan's entire body was filled with 9-colored celestial radiance, like a divine king descending to the 9 heavens. There were thousands of strange phenomena behind him, and there was also a chaotic sea floating in time and space. There were many supreme figures standing in it, and they seemed to have started moving, looking at the southern heavenly gate from afar. This was Su Yan's special bloodline and strange phenomenon, and he wouldn't release it easily. Now that it had erupted, it actually caused the southern heavenly gate to shake on its own. It was as if the southern heavenly gate had started to shake because of his return. As the southern heavenly gate shook, the entire slumbering celestial court was awakened. What kind of manifestation was this? It was like a creature sleeping in ancient times, filled with a kind of spiritual will that ruled the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The majestic celestial court was enshrouded in celestial radiance, and the atmosphere was majestic. It was like the palace of the celestial emperor that transcended the past, present, and future. It emitted fluctuations that suppressed time and space for eternity. Su Yan's emotions were stirred, and he felt his blood boiling. He sensed a kind of summons. The celestial court seemed to be welcoming Su Yan, a tribesman who was far away from home. Dong, dong, dong. Moreover, Su Yan heard the sound of the heavenly drum. It shook the heavens and earth, and it shook the depths of one's soul. It caused Su Yan to uncontrollably rush into the southern heavenly gate. The moment he stepped inside, it was as if he had entered a brand new country. It was also as if he had crossed the vast river of time, crossed the prehistoric reincarnation, and entered a brand new time and space, a brand new dimension of the universe. This kind of scene was hard to describe with words. Even the word glorious wasn't enough to describe it. The scene inside the southern heavenly gate made Su Yan a little dazed, and he felt that he had come to the wrong place. What was this? The sky was filled with celestial soldiers and celestial generals. They stood in the palaces that were as huge as the heavens. They were densely packed, and there was no end in sight. It was as if millions of soldiers had gathered here, and they were ready to launch a magnificent expedition. Every figure was terrifying beyond compare. They were tall and majestic, and they exuded a peerless aura that could sweep away thousands of soldiers. The grandeur of this scene and the grandeur of this scene made Su Yan even more dazed. It was as if he was sleepwalking and he barged in. He didn't speak and there were no words. This was because the entire world was too silent. He came to a battle platform that was as thick as the heavens, and he blended in with the countless soldiers. He looked up at the celestial soldiers and celestial generals that were standing in the palaces above the 9 heavens. This scene was unbelievable. What kind of army was this? Su Yan felt that if such an army were to fight their way out, they could sweep across the entire universe, suppress all chaos, suppress all glory, and crush all great enemies. The world was very quiet, and Su Yan seemed to be out of place in this world. He tried to ask the people around him. He wanted to know what had happened, where this place was, and how long they had been here. Boom! The sound of the heavenly drums continued to explode. Finally, when the last beat of the drums fell, the countless celestial soldiers and celestial generals knelt on the ground. They faced the summit of the 9 heavens and prostrated themselves in worship. Moreover, they were roaring, exuding a terrifying aura of faith. They released a spiritual will that soared into the heavens. When combined together, they shattered everything, and the vast universe was illuminated in a dazzling light. They were even making sounds, chanting this person's name. In this majestic scene, Su Yan's primordial spirit was about to explode. He heard the roars of millions and millions of soldiers, and it was terrifying. But no matter how terrifying they were, when they chanted the name of this person, the universe seemed to wail. The great Tao seemed to tremble, and order seemed to collapse. The universe seemed to be rewritten. What did this mean? When a name was chanted, it was even more magnificent than the roars of millions and millions of soldiers. No, it should be said that it was majestic to the extreme, and it suppressed all light. Only his name became the only one in the world. Just this name alone was enough to suppress the past, present, and future, and defeat the peerless enemies who stood up in time and space. What kind of concept was this? Boom! The Celestial Emperor's war flag that Su Yan held tightly in his hand shone involuntarily. It was about to leave Su Yan's palm and fly to the summit of the 9 heavens, piercing through the immortal sky. Su Yan saw a person appear. When this person's blurry figure appeared from the 9 heavens, millions of soldiers roared excitedly, shaking the heavens and the earth. This was the glorious leader of their race, their faith. It was just a somewhat unreal silhouette. He stood in another world, in another time and space. However, even though they were separated by the river of time and thousands of eras, there was still a heavenly might that penetrated through ancient history and shook the river of time, directly suppressing the entire time and space. Please remember the domain name of this book. Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:17. Is that the Celestial Emperor? Su Yen murmured. There was too much shock in his heart. He looked up at the figure above the nine heavens. It was as if he was really standing in the past, standing in the future, or it could be said that he was standing in another spacetime, standing in an extremely distant spacetime. That was all there was to it. However, the aura he emitted was also transmitted to this world. This was a might that intimidated the past, present, and future. It contained an indescribable dignity that couldn't be recorded. Su Yen was thinking, could he be the Celestial Emperor? In short, during the process of observing, his mind was in a trance and his soul felt like it was being torn apart. It was really hard to bear. He even felt that during the process of observing, it was as if many years had passed. Su Yen didn't know what the people in this world were doing. These billions of celestial soldiers and generals were paying their respects here, kowtowing and calling out the name of a person. It shook the past, present, and future. It was as if they were also carrying out a relatively ancient ritual. He wanted to understand all of this, but Su Yan's strength didn't fall short of his desire. This was because the existence of this world had an astonishing power of time. It suppressed Su Yan, making him unable to say a single word. It was very difficult for him to communicate with them. This was related to the ritual they were carrying out. It contained an astonishing power of time and time. Why do I feel like he is going to descend into the world? Is he going to descend into the lower world? Su Yan's heart was shaken more and more. He kept looking up at that supreme figure. As the billions of troops chanted his name, he emitted a terrifying mighty force, revealing the terrifying power of the long river of time. Was this great existence crossing some kind of ancient path, following the syllables of these people's names and carrying out a kind of return? Su Yen was only guessing. He didn't understand this world, and couldn't pry into the full picture. In short, the sound of the name being chanted became louder and louder. The sound was enough to spread through the entire universe, penetrating through time and space, rippling through one era after another. Moreover, Su Yen couldn't help but think, would he one day be able to hear the sound of them chanting the name when he was in the Chaos Ruins? He felt that all of this was too shocking. He was observing, his mind absent-minded, enduring the pressure of time as he watched them carry out a type of special ceremony. In the end, Su Yen was shocked and moved. He realized that among the heavenly soldiers and generals in the sky, they were all worshipping in one direction and chanting the name of a person. That is, Su Yen saw a huge stone statue that exuded an extremely dense ripple of time. He didn't know how many tens of thousands of years it had been forged. In short, the stone statue's aura was extremely ancient, leaving behind very deep traces of time. It was extremely difficult to see its true appearance. He found that the divine generals were chanting to the stone statue. This meant that the person they were chanting to was made into a stone statue by them. Now that they were chanting to a person's name with the stone statue as a guide, were they asking him to return? It was unknown how long this ritual lasted, however. The person they wanted to let return was unable to step out of the ancient path and return. In fact, when the person they were chanting started to blur and was about to return to silence, the ancient celestial court shook violently. It swayed uneasily, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Chaos erupted, and boundless anger was emitted. Because the ritual didn't progress smoothly, it affected their mentality. Boom! Suddenly, one after another, blurry figures crossed into the celestial court. All of this made the nine heavens gloomy, and the world lost its luster. This was because the people who came were too terrifying. Even the slightest bit of their aura was enough to shatter heaven and earth. Their divine might was vast to the extreme. As they breathed, the vast universe wailed. These people were too tyrannical, and it was like a heavy ancient history pressing down on them. What terrifying experts! Su Yen was stunned. What kind of people were they? One after another, it was difficult for him to discern their realms. Moreover, they were rather blurry and mysterious. However, their actions shocked Su Yen. They appeared in front of the stone statue and chanted a person's name. At this moment, the entire celestial court's momentum was boundless. What an astonishing movement this was! One after another, unimaginably terrifying experts were chanting a person's name. Together with the roars of billions of celestial soldiers and generals, it was as if they had penetrated the ages and exploded in the long river of time. In an instant, the brilliance was like the ancient history of an era collapsing one after another. This scene would make even gods and devils tremble in fear. That blurry figure that was about to fall silent once again released a terrifying brilliance, and it emitted a kind of peerless divine might that came from ancient times and passed through the long river of time and space. Su Yen discovered that when their shouts of titles were combined together, they formed some special symbols of the great Tao that were branded in the passage of time. They were like divine lamps that illuminated the 9 heavens, illuminating the unknown time and space. That's not right. Are they just confirming the direction? Su Yen suddenly realized that they did not seem to be calling this person back. Instead, they were confirming his coordinates. What were they doing? This earth-shattering ceremony was just to confirm a person's coordinates? Could it be that he was in danger, or had lost his way, or was there some other reason? In any case, Su Yen couldn't understand. However, the group of terrifying existences standing in front of the stone statue were too strong. Could it be that even as strong as they were, they couldn't cross over to find this person? The chanting of names had been going on for a very long time. Su Yen could vaguely see the direction that the terrifying figure was in. It was too far away, as if millions of years had passed. Even Qiongqi couldn't trace that direction with all his strength. No matter how much effort they put in, it was still difficult for that person to truly cross over. Soon, the commotion began to weaken. Su Yen felt a sense of despair. This made his heart tremble. They were completing some kind of ceremony, but it wasn't going well. Was this a failure? I don't understand what they are saying. Their words are very ancient. What time and space does this belong to? It's definitely older than the immortal star. Su Yen thought to himself. He wanted to find out more, but he didn't know what they were talking about. This made him a little confused. His mind continued to be in a daze. He even wondered where he was. Was this still the primal chaos ruins? Could it be that he had come to another world through the southern heavenly gate? Just as Su Yen couldn't figure it out. This ancient world of the celestial court suddenly transmitted the terrifying flames of war. It was as if 2 great universes were awakening from their slumber. Those 2 beings could be said to be heaven-defying beings. They were blurry and too terrifying. The moment they awakened their divine might, their roars shook the sun, moon, and stars. It was as if the great stars of the universe in the long river of time and space were exploding. They've started fighting. Su Yan's pupils constricted. They had a disagreement during the exchange, and thus a great battle broke out. When the battle truly began, Su Yen finally understood what it meant to be strong, what it meant to be invincible. The 2 terrifying beings released the most invincible power. It was as if 2 condensed ancient histories had collided. In the 9 heavens 10 earths, their furious roars reverberated. They were too powerful and heaven-defying. The sun was about to explode, the sea of stars evaporated. The entire world was about to fall under their feet, crawling and trembling. Nothing could stop them. Their unmatched divine might was enough to shatter the universe. Su Yen couldn't see this battle clearly at all. He couldn't see through it. Even his soul was about to shatter. This kind of battle wasn't something he could observe. The entire world reverberated with their most invincible power. This battle was enough to be recorded in history, yet Su Yen couldn't see through it. It could only be said to be a type of regret. After an unknown amount of time, a victor was decided. At the same time, there was also a conclusion. Su Yen gazed at an imposing figure. It was like a dragon, an immortal phoenix, a Kuan Pung, a Qilin in short. Its aura was ever-changing, but it belonged to the most terrifying leader of all time. It commanded millions and millions of celestial soldiers and generals. With a tyrannical and unrivaled stance, it forcefully opened a passage. It was a path that was deep and ancient. No one knew where it led to, and no one knew exactly what they would encounter along the way. Just like that, it led the millions and millions of celestial soldiers and generals of the celestial court on a bloody path of conquest. There were some who stayed behind, but there were very few of them. Su Yen was also one of them. They stayed behind in the celestial court to protect their homeland. Su Yen felt a kind of desire from these people. It was a kind of mentality that made them hope for a safe return. At this moment, Su Yen understood that the path they were going to take was extremely dangerous. Death was at every turn. Perhaps millions and millions of soldiers would be buried on this path to heaven. But what kind of journey was it? Even such a terrifying and glorious force would face the danger of being buried in a foreign land. It was hard to imagine. Kill! Su Yen heard the battle cries coming from that path. Millions and millions of soldiers set out. Following one after another, outstanding emperors and more than 10 peerless geniuses charged forward. They were charging ahead. The leader of the army was utterly terrifying. He used his unbeatable strength to blast open a terrifying path. In the end, they were further away from Su Yen. They were about to vanish into the passage of time. They were covered by the magnificent ancient path. However, Su Yen still saw some scenes. They were ambushed by terrifying foes after a huge battle broke out. A path of burying bones, like the path of emperors that penetrated the immortal firmament. An unbeatable army was leading the charge. They slaughtered their enemies across the heavens and defeated the peerless rulers one after another. They were trying to sweep across the world and force the realms to submit to them. Su Yen was gradually losing his consciousness. He almost lost sight of it. The pressure of time was getting stronger. He tried his best to observe everything. He was eager to know if they had succeeded or failed. However, Su Yen felt like he could not hold on any longer. He was about to faint. Perhaps he would never know what happened to the mysterious tribe in the past. "I'm going to leave." Su Yen held his head. He could not hold on any longer. He could not stay in this place for too long, however. Before he lost his consciousness, he noticed a strong presence of blood on the path. It had dyed the passage of time red. Amidst the torrential rain of blood, he could vaguely see a person. The person was somewhat familiar. Su Yan's heart began to pound. It felt like he had seen another version of himself floating at the end of the path. Su Yen felt his scalp turning numb. Why was he seeing something like this? He felt like his eyes were playing tricks on him. Everything felt too surreal. The Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 9:18. The blood-stained road was like a piece of ancient history that appeared in Su Yan's eyes. When he saw a shadow floating on the ancient road and heading toward this world, Su Yen felt as if his scalp was about to explode. How could it be so ridiculous? He seemed to see another version of himself, returning along a bloody road, returning to this world, returning to the celestial court. Su Yan's hair stood on end, his heart unable to calm down. Impossible! Su Yen let out a low roar, his eyes about to split open. He struggled to open his eyes, wanting to see more of the scene, wanting to understand everything. All along, Su Yan's understanding of his own origins had been a question. Su Delong and the others were unable to answer Su Yen. Perhaps only the old leader knew the inside story. But now, Su Yen saw a scene that he could not believe. He did not even know how many eras, how many years, and how long the river of time was between this scene and the chaotic wasteland world that he was in. But now, Su Yen seemed to be dreaming of ancient history. He seemed to see another version of himself, drifting on a blood-stained ancient road. What was this? This made Su Yan's emotions unstable. How could he see such a strange scene? He really felt that it was himself. Although it was not clear and somewhat vague, he still believed so. Was this a kind of reincarnation? Could it be that he had died in the past, and after a long time, underwent a reincarnation and revived in this era? He felt that all of this was too dreamy and unreal. But he still wanted to confirm all of this. He roared with all his might, wanting to stay and see everything of this shadow. But he had stayed in this world for long enough. He had suffered the oppression of time all day long, and Su Yan had reached his limit. Now that he had lost control of his mind, Su Yan's vision was dark. No, I want to stay. I don't want to leave. Su Yan roared. He wanted to stay and did not want to leave now. He had seen the most important scene, and leaving like this would be too regretful. But reality could not give Su Yan an answer. When his vision fell into endless darkness, Su Yan was stunned. He knew everything was over. He left this time and space and returned to the world he was in. Huff huff! Su Yan panted heavily, his face pale and bloodless. His primordial spirit was exhausted. Previously, when he dreamed of ancient history, his primordial spirit had suffered too much damage. If Su Yan's primordial spirit had not broken through, he probably would not have stayed for long. Su Yan felt his body was a little cold. It was difficult to recover from the previous scene in a short period of time. The impact of the previous scene on Su Yan was too great, causing him to have a splitting headache. His breathing was heavy, and his chest was heaving up and down violently. Until now, he still could not calm down. Of his body, his whole body, Su Yan was venting his emotions. He tried his best to calm himself down. He should not lose his mind because of this. It was just a few scattered scenes. It did not mean anything. Who am I? He was a little confused and uneasy. However, Su Yan's instinct told him that he could not be like this. He roared angrily. His eyes became sharper and more terrifying. They were blazing with brilliance. Su Yan's body erupted with a powerful energy. He shouted, "My name is Su Yan. I am me. I will never be anyone else. This is my essence. It will never change. No one can change me." Su Yan's body was filled with an imposing aura. His body emitted a terrifying, overbearing aura. His divine eyes were like lightning as he looked down on heaven and earth. He shouted, "In the future, when I am strong enough, I will uncover everything and find the truth." Su Yan quickly adjusted his state. He had a strong belief and extraordinary willpower. He would not be easily frightened by all this. At the same time, his eyes scanned the surroundings. The scene in front of him made Su Yan silent. He was indeed standing at the ruins of the celestial court. However, it was completely different from the first time he came to the southern heavenly gate. Everywhere was lifeless. There were no signs of life. In this silent world, even the once powerful celestial court had completely declined. Many of the palaces floating above the 9 heavens had collapsed. Is the celestial court gone? Su Yan sighed in his heart. What he had experienced before was just a prehistoric scene. Su Yan had peeked into a corner. Maybe it was because the Celestial Emperor's war banner had led him to some of the scenes left behind in ancient history. Did they leave to look for that expert? Su Yan muttered in his heart. He had thought of many things. Perhaps it could be said that there was once a terrifying tribe. Because 90% of their elites had suddenly retreated and were unable to return for a long time, this tribe had declined? The lost race. The group left behind. Then the Battle of God Burial Mountain broke out? What kind of enemy did they encounter? Su Yan thought to himself. He felt that the possibility of God Burial Mountain being formed like this was very high. However, he found it hard to believe. How strong did this group need to be? But they actually encountered all of this. Even those endless celestial soldiers and generals who killed their way into the mysterious ancient road, Would they be buried in a foreign land? Su Yen found it difficult to calm down. He even felt a chill in his heart. A mysterious road. He did not know where it led or where it led. Could it be that there is another world? The universe is not just this. There are other secrets. Su Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. He was shocked. He felt that he had touched upon a domain that he should not have touched upon. He felt that this possibility was very high. In the past, the celestial court was led by a terrifying existence. He commanded hundreds of millions of troops and horses to follow this road in pursuit of someone. Su Yen especially wanted to know, what dangers did they encounter in that world? How many secrets were hidden on that road? How much bloody history was cut off? How many peak geniuses were buried? How many orthodoxies were destroyed? Su Yen couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This world was far too mysterious. In the past, only when he was strong enough could he pry into the secrets of the next level. Now all of this was just Su Yan's guess. He had no way of confirming it. Even the Celestial Court was unable to defeat such a powerful group. Did this influence invade our universe? Can it be that the demonic fog is related to that road? Su Yen felt that he was getting closer to the truth. He even wondered if those enemies from another world would one day come here. If so, would this world be able to resist their invasion? What am I thinking? This is not what I am concerned about. Moreover, a long time has passed. It should have been at least 1,000,000 years, right? Who knows what happened on that road? Or perhaps they have already gone extinct. There are too many secrets in this world. Time can cover up everything. That's not right. In the past, they might have also attacked here. Su Yen thought about it once more. He nodded and said, "The Celestial Court. This is the battlefield of the Celestial Court. Was this how God Burial Mountain was formed? It should be, right? This is God Burial Mountain. The glorious Celestial Court of the past is buried here. Although there are only a few powerhouses left, the Celestial Court still declined. Of course, maybe they are strong enough, but they are fighting in another world." That's right. That's right. God Burial Mountain was where gods and demons were buried. These endless corpses were the cruel truth. There was even the Celestial Emperor's war banner. Then, based on Su Yan's current understanding and conjecture, it was almost the same as the situation of the God Burial Mountain. He didn't expect that he would be able to see the origin of the God Burial Mountain. This wasn't a land of fortune, but a terrifying battlefield, a place where the once glorious clans took root. But how could he explain the Chaos Immortal Mountain? The 9 great immortal mountains originated from the Celestial Court. The Celestial Court should have existed before the Celestial Star. Basically, this makes sense. Our race is also closely related to the Celestial Court's remnant race. I just don't know if the Celestial Court is still around. Su Yen took a deep breath. Finally, his eyes became serious. He knew that he had an inseparable relationship with this race. In other words, the race of the Burial Realm and the remnant race of the Celestial Court were the same race. Su Yen threw the Celestial Emperor's war banner and shouted, "The Celestial Court is still around." His words were like thunder, exploding in this vast world of ruins. They exploded in the collapsed buildings floating in the 9 heavens. His voice echoed endlessly, containing his strong belief. The war banner glowed on its own, as if it was responding to Su Yan's words. The Celestial Court was still around. It was not extinct. Even if they fought to the end, as long as there was not a drop of blood left, the Celestial Court was still around. It was still continuing their race, and there was still the possibility of continuing their glory in the future. 1. The war banner glowed, almost dispersing the bloody light on its surface. It used to be the flag of the Celestial Court, the symbol of a race's battle team. It glowed and emitted heat, faintly illuminating the ruins floating in the 9 heavens. Even the gray ruins began to brighten. Su Yen frowned slightly. This was because when the Celestial Emperor's war banner was awakening, there was something faintly attracting the war banner. This made Su Yen suspicious. His bewildered eyes scanned the vast ruins of the palace, and he thought to himself, perhaps the remnant race of the Celestial Court left something behind? Since I'm the new flag-bearer, perhaps I can gain some opportunities. A land of death, a once glorious race. Could there be some lost orthodoxy here? Su Yen regained his composure, and there was a look of anticipation in his heart. For such a strong race, perhaps they had the 9 strongest mystiques in history. In short, Su Yen rushed into the ruins, and began to search along the waves, hoping to find something. Perhaps he could find some other objects to confirm his guesses and ideas, allowing him to understand more of the lost ancient history. He searched along the ruins, and there were many huge palaces that had not completely collapsed. Along the way, Su Yen found some artifacts, but unfortunately, after a long time, these artifacts had exhausted their divine power, and were equivalent to scrap metal. Su Yen paid more attention to the Celestial Emperor's war banner. With the glory and prosperity of the Celestial Court, there was no lack of clan treasures. Even ordinary objects were impressive. However, these artifacts had exhausted their divine power, and the Celestial Emperor's war banner was still intact. Su Yen had no choice but to pay attention to it. He advanced along the wave. When he was about to reach his destination, Su Yen was shocked. He could faintly see another mountain, suppressing the world. What really made his soul freeze was that near this mountain, there seemed to be many peerless figures standing tall. Each of them had a supreme aura that could swallow the heavens. They seemed to have not been wiped out. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor.